Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Complete Sports Media's podcast. I'm your host, Darren Campbell, coming to you on quite the historic day today. This is the inauguration day for the 47th President of the United States. Started coverage so early this morning, 6 o'clock. I tuned in a little bit here and there and got in through some of the waves, but I'm most happy that it's MLK Day today. Such an amazing day. I'm pretty pissed off actually that the US decided to have this inauguration day on this day. I think they could have moved it so it didn't fall on this day. And I kind of feel a little bit like it's disrespectful. And I'm pretty surprised that the powers that be didn't also, think the same way I do.
I'm not surprised.
No.
I know why I'm not surprised. Because it's all about me. It's all about Donald J. Trump.
Right.
And that's it. Right? Like that's it. It's all about Donald Trump and the fact that if he could even like cause a little bit of a stir because of when he's being inaugurated, well, guess what? He's gonna do that.
Right.
He's gonna do it for sure.
Yeah, so I was bothered by that, but I watched the NBA coverage starting first thing this morning. Amazing coverage. They really dug deep into Martin Luther King's history and life, and many activists that joined him on the civil rights movement. Today is the 39th NBA celebration of his day and the holiday that is part of it. They went to some of the civil rights museums. They talked to a lot of the activists. They spoke really eloquently about all the things that Martin Luther King means to the world and how great of a human being he was. And it was touching. It was super memorable. I learned things. I watch it every year, but I learn new things that I didn't know every year. I didn't realize he was a huge basketball great player as well. I didn't realize some aspects of his life that I guess aren't widely publicized, but it was really cool. The inside the NBA crew did a absolutely amazing job, and everything that Shaq and Charles and Kenny and Ernie had to say was really just touching and moving, and it's very close to all of their hearts too.
Yeah, man, like they do an excellent job when it comes to the coverage of that. And then just delving into the history of Martin Luther King and everything that he stands for. And just also to peeling off certain nuggets that you didn't know about his life.
Yeah.
So to pass on to the viewer, which is always a great thing to see. But man, they do an excellent job. Excellent job.
They sure do. Yeah. I was super happy late last year when you shared the news that they were not going to be separated. They're going to be moving on to the new coverage, and they've got the contract to continue the inside the NBA because I was starting to get quite sad, thinking, wow, this is the last year we're going to see that crew together. The best show on TV by far, and something that I have to record every single solitary week and watch and laugh and enjoy so much. And so it made me very happy, and it definitely could have went a different way, but I'm really glad that somebody was smart enough and rich enough and was able to make it happen so that they could stay together.
Yeah, man. Like it for me, it's a no-brainer. Like it's just a no-brainer. Like that you have these guys that have incredible chemistry that have been doing it for so long, and by far and away, they're at the top of the heap. That's why they keep winning awards and such, right?
Yeah.
And then you see other sports networks trying to emulate what they've already figured out.
Yeah.
And especially on the NFL side of things, where you see the 6-man or the 7-man desk, and you're just like, first off, there's too many dudes. I don't know who I'm listening to.
Right.
Who's talking now this time, right?
Yeah.
That they've simplified it. You got 4 guys. Everybody's supposed to take their turns talking. except where Chuck goes. And then usually he'll talk over Shaq, and then Shaq will have a problem, and then they'll start yelling at each other. Perfect. Like, it's just awesome. It's awesome to see, and it's awesome to know that you get entertained by those guys for a full hour, like for as long as there's games on for that day and they're hosting, you get that entertainment, which is it's just great to see.
Yeah, so great to see him. Yeah, it was a great way to kick off my day. Got to watch a ton of NBA action and the lead into the games today. It was really fun, and I'm glad we're going to get to see them for years to come. I think the biggest worry was that Ernie Johnson was going to stay loyal to TBS and TNT, and he's been there for decades and decades, and I think that was always the thought that he wouldn't leave there. And the other guys might go with somebody else, but it just, to me, it wouldn't work with anybody else. He's just the host and needs to stay with those four. So super happy that that's the case. I want to shift really quickly back to the Trump inauguration and the impact that it's going to have on the planet. He was going to be doing some things immediately today when he came into office, supposedly. Going to be signing some declarations, going to be declaring a state of emergency for the southern border to Mexico, and immediately deploying guys there to beef up the security, to build bigger, higher, taller, whatever the hell walls. He was expecting to sign in about 50 executive actions today. Pretty bizarre, amazingly crazy. What it's going to do and impact, we'll see. But north of the border to them here in British Columbia in Canada, there's been a lot of talk that if he implements these tariffs that he's been threatening, it will cost the government, well, it will cost the it'll cost the province about $69 billion and about 124,000 jobs. So that's pretty damn impactful in my opinion, and really a little bit scary how some things that he's trying to implement could negatively affect so many people locally here.
Yeah, you know what? But that's just the thing. Like, he can threaten and do those things, but we also have power. We can also do things to them as well. It's like, oh, so if you want to do that, like, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure about this, that BC itself supplies power to the state of California that they need.
Sure. Yeah.
Just turn it off.
Right.
Like, they'll just be like, you know what? Okay, that's cool. We're just gonna turn off your power for that state that's on fire, that needs it.
Right.
Yeah, like, if you want to play hardball, we can actually do that too as well.
Right.
Like, I like, that's the one thing that, but we're always just like, oh, I don't know. We probably shouldn't do that. We probably should try to negotiate. Maybe we shouldn't anymore. Maybe we should be like, all right, oh, there goes your power.
Yeah, well, I think we should definitely be playing hardball, not just bound down to whatever he wants to do. And our four biggest industry exports are wood, pulp and paper, minerals, and energy. So all four of them could significantly impact the U.S. if we say we're not going to export them to you, under duress and threats of tariffs and that kind of thing. It's just that where do we find the buyers for it? Where can we turn? Who can we turn to offload those things so those industries don't get impacted so significantly? It's worrisome. It's scary, but I think we should be definitely hardlined. I think the Trudeau resignation is kind of at a bad time because it would be nice to be in a strength power kind of move right now. A guy that's had run the country for the last 9 years, has had a previous relationship with Trump because he was prime minister while Trump was in office in the first term. I think to me that was really crappy timing, and I really wish that everyone wasn't forcing him out at that time, maybe if they want to force him out, maybe 6 months from now or a year from now. But now we don't really have somebody that's running the country per se, and we don't really know what direction we're going in. It's to me, it's a little bit bad and scary, and I hate the timing for this to happen to our southern neighbors, and us kind of being listless without a leader.
Yeah, because we have a ton of question marks right now about what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and what direction we're going to go forward in.
Yeah.
And we don't know any of those things because we have no leader. We have no head right now. There's nothing going on. So you're right. Like the timing is really bad. But at the same time, here's what we did know. He was definitely not going to be prime minister anymore. He knew that.
Yeah.
We all know that. Like
Yeah.
his time is over.
Yeah.
But and that's due to his own undoing. He did that to himself.
True. Okay, well, let's move on from politics and get into sports. Sports is more fun, way more enjoyable. A lot more people, have better conversations and more fun talking about sports than politics and all that kind of stuff. So, huge game tonight in the college football world. The national championship game is happening, and they did such an amazing job seeding these teams. It's the number 7 seed against the number 8 seed, and it makes a ton of sense to me. I think they obviously messed up seriously with the seeding, but in the end, this did shake out the 2 best teams, and this should be an epic battle. These are 2 of the most storied franchises in college football, storied universities and college. Ohio State, in its history, has 977 wins. Notre Dame 962. That's the top 4 of colleges of all time. Ohio State has won 6 national championships, and Notre Dame has won 11. They both have won 7 Heisman Trophy, have been able to have 7 Heisman Trophy winners from the schools that they represent, and both had phenomenal runs through the playoffs, and it should be an epic battle. The Buckeyes are favored because of the way they have steamrolled most of their opponents through the playoffs here. Favored by 8.5 points, and the over-under is 46.5. Should be an incredible defensive battle, though. Ohio State was number 1, and the Fighting Irish from Notre Dame were number 2 in the nation in points allowed this year. Ohio State only allowed 12 points per game, and Notre Dame only allowed 14 points per game. So is it going to be a 14-12 game? Probably not, but it should be way more of a defensive battle because that's where these 2 teams have bred their butter all year long and have really been able to emerge and be the top 2 teams in the nation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just have a sneaking suspicion that this game is going to be a lot closer than what people think it's going to be. Yeah. I think obviously both teams are very well coached, especially on the Notre Dame side with the coach Freeman. I think he's been excellent for them, and he's just been a breath of fresh air for the whole college and organization and everything else. So yeah. What I really want to see, though, and I just hope that it's an exciting game. What I don't want to see is it just a complete blowout right from the get-go, and then it's just kind of over after the first quarter, first 2 quarters. I don't want to see that.
Football, really just is hard to watch once a team gets just, steamrolling and, gets up by 2, 3, 4 scores. It's tough. So I'm sure everyone hopes that it's a close game, very competitive, and it should be a ton of fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad we're doing this early so we can get right at it and watch it. And this could be Marcus Freeman's last ever game. Lots of rumors that he's already being wooed to take over some of those NFL coaching openings. And one of those pieces fell today. Ben Johnson was hired from the Detroit Lions to take over the Chicago Bears today. And Since 2022, the Lions have been the best offense in football this year. They scored the most points per game. They kind of crapped the bed there yesterday, but we'll see. How he does his first coaching gig. 39 years old, young, when it comes to NFL head coaches, but he was one of the front runners in many of the openings around the league.
Yeah, and like he employed that offense to like it was beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And I think that's exactly what Chicago Bears needs is an offensive coordinator that knows his offense. And that's exactly where he makes his bread and butter. Like that's his thing. So, but I hope that that's a situation that he can turn around and that he'll feel comfortable in because he just left a comfortable situation. Yeah, he's getting paid a lot more money, but man, the Detroit Lions were that he had a great job and a great gig going
Yeah.
on there, right? So
He's not going to make the Bears into what the Lions just were. He's not going to
yeah,
be able to do that. They don't have the
no,
personnel. I
no,
don't know if Caleb Williams is the guy. I guess he's the latest guy to try to see if he is the guy to suddenly turn this franchise around. I remember through the 80s, especially the Walter Payton days. Oh my God, the Bears were just one of those franchises that were, almost as storied as the Cowboys, America's team, and you just always thought of them so highly, and they've been through a lot of crappy years in the past few decades here, and yeah, it's going to be hard to turn this franchise around, but we'll see. I guess he's the latest guy to get the chance.
yeah, he's the latest guy to get the chance. We'll see if he can do it. But I just don't think it's not going to be easy for him to turn that franchise around. It's going to take some time, and hopefully the Bears organization actually gives him the time that he's going to need.
Yeah, yeah, hope so. Did you see Dave Chappelle's monologue on Saturday Night Live on the weekend?
Missed
Please
it.
watch it.
I saw some pieces, but I didn't see it all. So
Please watch it. Anybody, everybody that's listening, watching on YouTube here, check it out. I don't know if you'll be able to get the full 17 minutes that it was, but very poignant. Amazing amount of really, really, really big things that he said, and he just said to Trump, he said he actually kind of spoke right to Trump and said, "Hey, I know he watches." So, hey, you're watching, listen to this. And he said, everyone's counting on you and do better. He said, let's just, he's the guy, he's coming in. We're all counting on you. Just do better. And let's really turn this thing around. And yeah, it was very, very, very poignant. It had some very funny moments. But it was great to see him in there. He was the first host of Saturday Night Live in 2025, and I think it couldn't have been a better guy to have up there, commenting on some of the things that were coming forward to the country of America, starting today.
yeah, no, you know what, Dave Chappelle. If people haven't figured it out yet, the man's brilliant.
Very
He's
brilliant.
brilliant,
Yeah.
right? Like, and for him to start off the year with him speaking his monologue or speaking his truth, that's exactly what everybody wants to hear.
Yeah.
So, bravo for SNL to get the right guy for the right moment.
Smart. Very, very smart. Yeah. Okay, I want to just make a couple of mentions before we get into the NFL coverage. PGA golf happened this weekend. It was called the American Express Championship. Took place down in California. Sepp Straka from Australia won a two-stroke victory over Justin Thomas, three in front of Jason Day and Justin Lower. Our Canadian Nick Taylor, who won last week, ended up being the top Canadian. He finished in a tie for 11th. Still got a really nice paycheck there. They stay in California this week and they head to Torrey Pines, which is in San Diego. Tee off first round is Thursday. Tournament goes through Sunday. Should be awesome tournament. Love that course. Tiger Woods has won on that course many times. I think they always called that Phil Mickelson's home course. He's from San Diego, and he won there lots of really epic battles on in that tournament. And they're on the West Coast swing right now through California, so should be fun. I mentioned the TGL, the Tiger Woods Rory McIlroy League, a few times. They go into week 3 starting tomorrow. It'll be the New York team against the Atlanta team. New York team features Matthew Fitzpatrick, Ricky Fowler, and Cameron Young. And Atlanta has Patrick Cantlay, Billy Horschel, and Justin Thomas, who just finished second this week. It's an early tee off this time for some reason. 1 p.m. Pacific tee off time, 4 o'clock Eastern time. It's been later the first couple weeks, so not sure why. I didn't hear why early tee off, but the first 2 weeks have been blowouts, and it hasn't been as entertaining as a lot of people hoped and thought it would be. Tiger Woods' team got just crushed 15-1. It was ugly, and his team played really badly. It was fun to see him out there, and it was interesting, to watch that for the second week. But they've got to have a little more competitive matches. First week was a blowout. Second week was even worse of a blowout, and that's never good in sports, really.
No, because the competition, like the competitive juices that drive you, are gone.
Yeah.
If you're just getting just like slaughtered,
Just
which is
work.
what's happened. It's
They
kind of
kept
brutal.
they kept showing Tiger Woods as kid every time they got beat, and he was like, "Oh man, my old man, he's getting he's getting absolutely crushed." And I couldn't believe it. They just showed Charlie over and over and over and over. And one of the owners I mentioned, Serena Williams, one of the owners of the LA team, she was there, and they brought her up to do some commentary while the action was going on. And I hope they don't do that again because she knows
Terrible.
nothing about golf. Zero, beyond zero. She said some very strange things. She just was like, no, I don't know anything. I don't even know what to say. I don't know nothing. So it's great she's putting her money into the mix, but I don't think she should be a spokesperson at all.
Well, you know what? That should have been something that they should have known.
Yeah,
Like it's pretty obvious. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like especially if they just had like some brief like talks with her. So you
yeah.
know what they should have
Debrief would
done?
have been brilliant. Yeah, I don't understand why someone wouldn't have said, "Hey, you feel like talking up here? You know lots about the sport. You know what's
Yeah.
going on." No, no, no. Keep me out of that, please. Yeah, somebody messed up and didn't really vet her very much at all.
No, or like if they're gonna bring her up, talk about her sport,
Yeah,
right? What
yeah,
she's doing, and then cut it off, and then
yeah,
go back to the golf.
yeah.
That's what they should have done.
Yeah, they briefly talked about the Australian Open, which was great. She did mention that she was watching it a ton, and the Australian's always hard to watch here in North America because of the time difference. But she said she had been watching all the matches, and she was feeling a little bit sad because she wasn't playing. But she said, wow, I'm enjoying the action so much, and I like that aspect and that piece of it. But yeah, that was time to turn her off and get somebody else on that knows the sport and could really comment, to add some color to the sport and to the night and to the event. It was not what she was bringing at all.
No, of course not. Like, again, they should have vetted her properly. And then if they wanted to have somebody like that, they bring in an old timer like
Yeah.
Greg Norman or something like that, so that they could actually have somebody talk about the sport and then talk about this new fusion of the sport, this new look of it.
Oh
Right.
yeah. Greg Norman would have been amazing because Rory
Thank you.
McIlroy and Tiger Woods hate that guy more than anybody on the planet. So
Oh,
that would have
do
been,
they?
oh, yeah, they
Yeah.
do. Like, yeah,
Yes.
he's the most
Yes.
hated guy in golf right now. So yeah,
Perfect.
they hate him so bad. That would have been awesome. That would have
That would
been
have been awesome.
must watch TV. Sort of slip him in the side door in a mask and bring him up and unveil him. And oh man, I would have paid tons of money to see that. That would have been incredible.
So that was a good call out by me. I am a genius. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, no, they hate him bad. They hate him really bad. because he's the guy that started the live golf
Live
and all
thing.
that.
Yeah.
So
No.
yeah, no, that wouldn't have flown. If they asked Tiger and Rory, oh man, they probably would have been fired themselves and even suggested it. So
Yeah, exactly. Like who mentioned Greg Norman? You're fired.
you're
You're fired.
gone. Yeah,
Yeah.
get your walking papers. Who mentioned Serena? You could stay for one more week, but that's it.
That's it.
Okay, couple mentions from the world of baseball. Toronto Blue Jays are actually on a very big spending spree in the past couple weeks. They signed 7 guys last week on the same day. It was the day before they were all supposed to go to arbitration, and teams don't really like this arbitration because you got to kind of crap on the guy and tell him why he sucks, why he doesn't deserve the money that he's asking for, and it kind of creeps into bad feelings between the team and the player and the agent and all that kind of stuff. So 7 guys signed that day, including Vladdy, who got a 1-year deal, couple 20-something million. This week they have been very busy and they signed a very, very coveted free agent, and he's been a lot of teams have really wanted this guy. His name is Anthony Santander. He's an outfielder. They signed him to a 5-year, $90 million contract today, and he's played with their division rivals, the Baltimore Orioles, for the past half dozen years, and he was the third leading home run hitter behind Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani this past year. And he's also a switch hitter, which is pretty phenomenal to have because you can bat him at any time, whatever the pitcher's coming in at. And he had the most home runs by a switch hitter since 2009. And so, very coveted guy. Many teams were trying to bring him in. It's really nice to get a guy in from your rival team, and maybe he can really help the Jays beat Baltimore down the standings, and so that was a big coup. The Jays are almost every year chasing those top free agents, and they miss out on them. The Dodgers signing, the Yankees signing, the Mets signing somebody else, and they're always kind of that bridesmaid, as they say. This year, he was very, very coveted. So it's nice to see them finally secure a good free agent.
Yeah, it is nice to see that they finally weren't outbid by one of the bigger teams,
Yeah.
which is nice to see finally.
Yeah.
Because it's Toronto does have money. They do have money to spend,
Yeah.
and I'm glad to see that they figured out the Vladdy's situation and they got this guy.
They also signed a really highly touted shortstop out of the Dominican. His name is Juan Sanchez. And a lot of these import players, they can pay them very, very, very little money, and they can contribute heavily to them right away, and then ask for big money a few years down the road. It happened with Shohei Ohtani. It happens with a lot of these international players that come over from Japan, from the Dominican, from other big countries, baseball countries in the world. And so this was a big coup for them. They can really slot him in, and he doesn't cost them a ton of money right now, and develop him and try to eventually keep him in the fold. So yeah, nice to see. Really big news today for the Jays. Unfortunately, the Dodgers also got very, very, very big news today that they were able to sign a couple of huge free agents they were chasing. And so that was bad news for the Jays. The next Japanese pitcher phenom to come out of Japan, his name is Roki Sasaki. The Jays were chasing him, and so were almost every other top team. He ended up deciding to sign with the Dodgers. They get him on a really good, friendly contract. And I think because Shohei's there, it definitely probably swayed him to join Japan, as well as being the World Series champions.
Yeah, like that's the great thing about the Dodgers, and they know that. It's like, hey, we have your countryman over here, Shohei plays for us. You want to hang out with
You
him?
got him. Yeah. Come on over. Yeah. You guys
You
can
want to come
hang
on
out.
over?
Yeah. Be his translator, except it's different from that last guy.
Yeah.
And come on over. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was huge. They also got another big free agent signed today. His name is Tanner Scott. He's a pitcher. He signed a 4-year, $72 million deal last year. He played with both Miami and San Diego last year and was one of the top free agent pitchers out there. He had an ERA at 1.75 last year, almost unhittable. Played with Miami, who was terrible. Moved to San Diego, who was good. Was able to keep it up, and the Dodgers were able to convince him to come a little bit north and join them. And wow, to be able to get these top 2 free agent pitchers, the rich in baseball just get richer.
They always do. They always seem to get richer. And the Dodgers, I think they had a pretty good team last year. That's right, because they won. So now they've just made their team just that much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say right now, would you agree with me if I said they're the odds-on favorite to possibly win again?
Oh shit, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, no question about it. Yeah, odds on favorite. They've been able to assemble a really, really crazy good team. So yeah, it's going to be tough for anybody to beat them this year. If they stay healthy, look out. Could be definitely a repeat there. So okay, locally here, I wanted to mention the Vancouver Bandits, our professional basketball team here. We are pretty damn excited. They keep signing a lot of great guys coming up for the upcoming season. They've had a really good push for season tickets. We were able to secure those tickets. I told you about us getting those tickets. Yeah, so we're really super excited. And also, they were remembering Martin Luther King Day today. A couple of the provinces actually do recognize MLK Day too, and Quebec and Ontario do, and I hope BC eventually takes the same kind of stance and recognizes him as well. And yeah, so I did want to wear them in solidarity today for the pro basketball, and our only local pro team. Also, our other pro team here, the Vancouver Canucks, have been big in the news locally because there is rumored to be a JT Miller trade that's imminent. It's supposed to happen. They almost sat him out on Saturday night because they didn't want him to get injured, and they had a deal in place with the Rangers. We understand now somehow it fell through over the weekend and it didn't happen. Glad that he played because the Canucks have been really, really having a hard time lately. He was, to me, their best player, maybe outside of Quinn Hughes on Saturday. They were able to beat the Oilers 3-2 and get a huge victory. It's been crazy how much this has just boiled up because the Canucks are struggling this year, but this supposed feud between him and Elias Pettersson, I guess the Canucks have decided that Pettersson they're keeping and Miller they're sending out. I guess in the next few days, I think we're going to hear a deal's been struck. It's too bad. Miller has been amazing since he's been here. The leave of absence that he took earlier this year, I think, soured the management on him a little bit, unfortunately to say. And this ongoing feud has really just sunk him, I guess. And let's hope the Canucks can strike a good deal, get what they need, what they're looking for, and it can change this mix. They sit currently 1 point out of the playoffs, and lot of the season to go, but they need to do something to change this mix. I guess this is the direction that they're going to go in.
First off, it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at it from the perspective of JT Miller,
Yeah.
where I've given everything I could for this organization. So when I had some personal hardship that I had to take care of at home, now you want to hold that against me? I don't agree with that from any sort of look at all. Organizationally, if that's happening, then you support that person unconditionally and let them do what they need to do. Yeah. That shouldn't be held against them. That's number one. Number two, I had no idea that they had this worsening relationship between their two superstars. that can't happen either, because those guys need to find a way to coexist together, if not uplift each other. And if they can't actually do that, then that will just eventually break apart the locker room and break apart the team.
Yeah.
So I understand then, if that's actually the real reason, which I believe that is, that he has to go, then yeah, one of them has to leave the team for sure.
Yeah. Miller's older, and his contract is a little easier to move. It's eight million a year, 7 years, 56. He signed for. Pedersen just started an 8-year, $93 million deal, so it's 11.6. So not that many teams can find that cap space and find that ability to insert him. They will have to walk away from one of their top superstars, trade them to the Canucks. Miller is a guy that they could actually slot in much easier. Canucks have most of their history have sort of leaned towards Swedish players as the leaders of the organization. The Sedin twins, Marcus Naslund. Obviously, it goes back far, far, far through the organization. Many Swedish players have been very prominent. So yeah, their general manager is Swedish too. So I think maybe that colors the lines a little bit when they're trying to decide between which guy to move.
Well, here's a question for you. You might not like this suggestion, but here's one. Because I remember when we used to have a guy by the name of Pavel Bure. What about a Russian?
Yeah.
Would you be okay with a Russian leading our team? No, you wouldn't?
No. 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 No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. No. Yeah, you can keep the Russians somewhere else. No, thanks. It might be interesting to have Ovechkin join us and break the record, but
Yeah.
no. Burry was, Burry was the most talented player that the Canucks have ever had.
Yeah.
But he didn't get along well with his teammates. Most
No.
guys didn't really like him. The only guy that he seemed to get along with was Gino Ojic. And, that was quite the weird pairing of best buddies. But, he didn't really mesh well with the other guys in the locker room and, in their personal lives. He was a super amazingly talented guy, but he was kind of a cancer in the locker room. And the way he sort of forced himself out of the organization was pretty ugly too. So yeah, I'm not a fan of the way he was. I loved his game, but I didn't like what he brought outside the game.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give you that, because he was spectacular on the ice.
Oh,
There's no doubt about that. He was absolutely spectacular on the ice.
Oh yeah.
And then going back to JT Miller, well, hopefully we get the pieces that we need so that we can get out of like whatever funk that the team's currently in,
Yeah.
and that they can figure that out. I don't know if they're going to have to pass it by Elias to say, okay, this is the trade we're thinking of doing. You don't have a problem with these guys that we're going to bring in, do you?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, that would be hilarious if they approached him like that. But I doubt it. I doubt they will do that.
Yeah.
Okay, that game the other night on Saturday, great win by the Canucks. They were had a phenomenal first period. They were up 3-0. They held on. They won 3-2. 2 seconds left in that game. There was suddenly a whistle, and two players, Connor McDavid and Tyler Myers, in two separate incidences, both cross-checked the guy that they were standing beside. Both are going to face suspensions. I think 2-game suspensions for both of them. Connor McDavid got up and absolutely brutally cross-checked Connor Garland right in the side of the head, took him down. Over in the corner, Tyler Myers brutally cross-checked Evan Bouchard right in the mouth, right in the face, took him down. And it was at the exact same time, different parts of the ice, 2 seconds left. The night was over, and all of a sudden, holy cow, this big thing happened. So, earlier suspensions this season for similar incidences have led to 2-game suspensions. I haven't seen any notices yet today, but both of them are expected to face a suspension. Could be 2 games, could be more. They were both very vicious, and I think they both deserve a suspension for sure.
Well, it sounds like they definitely both deserve a suspension for sure. But just the weirdest thing was their timing. They did
Yeah.
it basically at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, that was very weird and strange. Yeah, very weird way to end a game. And unfortunately, they both kind of lost it right at the same time in two separate incidences. So, um, oh yeah, okay. I wanted to mention about the Oilers. They got a really big acquisition with them. He's signed with them just on the weekend. I'm understanding he's going to play with them this week. This is John Klingberg. Klingberg has had some hip issues in his career. He said he's actually been in pain from his hip his entire career. He took off all last season, got hip resurfacing surgery, and was able to get back skating, get back moving. He said he's pain free for the first time in his NHL career. They were able to convince him to join them. He's going to be rusty, but he's an incredible defenseman that if he can get back to his elite level he was at, is going to be a really amazing addition. They were able to get him very cheap because nobody's sure how this hip is going to respond and stuff. But smart move, I think, by the Oilers, and we'll see how he pans out. The Canucks have a rematch with the Oilers on Thursday, so I think we'll get to see him actually in live action that night.
That'll be great. We'll get to see him in live action. I wonder what the Canucks are going to target when they check him. I wonder what they're going to do.
Yeah. Every guy go to that hip. Every single player. I'll give 50 grand to every guy that hits his
This is going to be a
hip.
bounty.
There'll be bounties on it. You'll see on the locker room whiteboard 50K, 50K.
50K, buddy. Who wants it? Who wants it?
Yeah, it could get a little ugly there, but hopefully not. Hopefully not. The Canucks' next game is tomorrow night, Buffalo, but then they head to Edmonton and play that rematch. And unfortunately, McDavid and Myers probably won't play that game against each other. We'll see if there's some retribution with the guys that did get smoked and did get hit in the face. It could get ugly there, but probably not.
Yeah, you say probably not, but people like hockey players. If there's one thing they don't do, they don't forget. They don't forget.
That's true. They do not forget. Okay, let's just get right into football and talk about this great weekend of the divisional round. We might as well go like we normally do, where we start with the first game of the weekend. We always go, in the regular season, we always go NFC East and go down through the NFC and then the AFC, but we might as well go the way it worked out over the weekend and how the games went. So first game on Saturday had the Chiefs hosting the Texans. Chiefs came in as the number one seed and, really a team that has dominated so much. Some of the stats that I kept seeing over the weekend were just friggin' crazy. Like, this will be the 7th year in a row they're in the AFC Championship game. Unbelievable, incredible. The four guys that come to mind all the time when I think about this Chiefs dynasty are Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, Patrick Mahomes, and Travis Kelce. And those four guys have been the core, in my opinion, and one of the main reasons why this franchise has had this unprecedented success and, getting the Chiefs to this point where they actually might be able to win the Super Bowl for the 3rd year in a row. No team's ever done that. And this game was just like you said, and you always say, the Chiefs just find a way to win. The numbers, when you just look at the stats and you didn't see the score, you might think Houston won this game, but somehow the Chiefs find another way to win. They win 23-14 in advance, and it's just the Chiefs. It's just how the Chiefs always do it.
Yeah, that's how they always do it, man. And the one thing that maybe I wasn't surprised to see, but I was glad that it happened. Travis Kelce sighting.
Yeah. Awesome.
The future Hall of Famer
Awesome.
just said, "Oh, by the way, there's a reason why I am a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
I may have not have had the greatest season, but when my team needs me, don't worry, I'll be there."
So
Be
great.
there.
So great. It was his ninth career playoff game with
Yep.
over 100 yards.
Yep.
And he's up there in just incredible categories. Second to Jerry Rice and everything. Jerry Rice, the GOAT of all time as a receiver. But Kelsey, I've got some stats here. 172 catches, 2,020 yards, 20 touchdowns. Second in the rankings to Jerry Rice. And yeah, he was the difference. He was the man. That one play across the middle, he was able to find some open space, catch the ball, start shedding tacklers, heading towards the end zone, was able to, score again. And, it was just, yeah, he's not done. A lot of people kept calling him done this year because he just was getting 2 or 3 catches a game and, 40, 50 yards a game, if that. And, yeah, when they most needed him, they drew up plays for him, and he was the biggest difference, really, why they won this game.
Yeah, he was the difference maker. Like even when he scored his touchdown and he looked like he was just, I don't know, wide open, Mahomes was going down off a tackle.
Yeah, the Superman throw.
That's a Superman throw where you're just like, classic Mahomes. Who's he passing it to? Oh, Kelsey, who's wide open. Touchdown. And you're just like, somebody should probably cover that guy.
I know.
Serious? But he manages to do that all the time. Well, he'll find the spot within the zone or in the coverage where there's green space. He'll be there. He'll be open, and Patrick knows where to find him.
Yeah. I have friends that absolutely hate the Chiefs and constantly text me conspiracy theories that the referees hand it to them. The NFL wants them to win over and over and over. And there was a few egregious penalties in this game that fed more of their conspiracy theories and made people go like, see, I told you, huh? Here it is. But no matter what, I don't, yeah, I see some of these moves made, but you make your own luck. And you also, when you have elite status in sports, you kind of get the benefit of the doubt. Like Tom Brady got a lot of calls for him. He was elite. He was always there. He was always in prime time. Everybody's watching those games. Everybody had their eyeballs always on Brady. He got some calls favored him. I'm sure the Patriots actually had some calls that didn't favor them too, but everybody points to that. Everybody points to when, some kind of controversial calls happened to Mahomes. And this game, had that too. But I don't think the referees won the game for the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs won the game for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think so too. And also too, Mahomes is going to get those calls because he's the face of the league.
Yeah.
He's literally the face of the league.
Yeah.
Like there's the one where literally the 2 Texans guys actually hit each other and didn't actually end up hitting Mahomes because he fell underneath them and they called it. Okay, that I'm gonna give them a pass on that one. All right. But the other one where I think it was Mahomes actually slowed up before he went out of bounds and he got hit and they called it. That was like, okay, that's just taking advantage. But again, it's Mahomes. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. He got a roughing the passer call to him. They said targeting the head. The guy kind of hit him here, and then it sort of just deflected up to him. But I mean, I have to listen to these guys, and I placate them with, I know, I've seen it, I know what you're talking about, but unfortunately, it fed their belief that the NFL wants these guys to win for some reason. Kansas City, like, what commissioner would be like, okay, New York, LA, Boston, Chicago, Kansas City, that's the city we want them to win. Like, does that seem realistic? Like, baseball has the Kansas City Royals. Do we ever talk about Kansas City Royals on this podcast? No. They suck. They're never going to be good. And so No, it's just kind of unrealistic in my mind, unless somehow maybe Goodell and Mahomes hung out when Goodell was a kid. I don't know what the hell, but it
Uh,
seems unrealistic that the NFL would have a mandate. Okay, referees, make sure you make the Chiefs win this game. We need them to win the championship year after year after year.
okay, well, that was up until the point where Travis Kelsey did his power move and said, "Hey Patrick, I think I got a way that we're gonna continually win for the rest of our lives." How? I'm gonna start dating Taylor
Taylor
Swift.
Swift.
You go,
Yeah.
brilliant. You
Yeah.
brilliant. Oh
And
my
and
goodness.
then she invites the most famous women athlete on the planet right now,
Yeah.
Caitlin Clark, and they're hanging out. And all of a sudden, Caitlin Clark's suddenly elevated her notoriety. And Taylor Swift sure elevates a lot of people and a lot of things. But that was pretty neat to see Caitlin there hanging out. And they were hugging and high fiving when Kelsey was doing everything he was doing.
Yeah, yeah. I think for that game, Travis had like a lot of motivation and a
Yeah.
lot of motivation to win and to put on a great performance, which what he did. And yeah, and then also too, the NFL had a lot of motivation too to make sure that the Chiefs won.
Yeah. It was great to see also his brother, as the broadcast team,
Yeah.
commentating before the game, halftime, after. Great to see Jason so prominent. Have you watched his late night talk show yet?
He has a late night talk show.
He
I
does.
didn't. No,
Yeah.
I didn't. I watched
Yeah,
I
I
watched
think
the
that
brothers podcast.
think they've had 3 episodes, and I don't know if it's low budget. It looks low budget, but it's been pretty fun. I've enjoyed it. It's had a lot of fun conversations, entertaining. It takes place in Philadelphia, and so it's Eagles biased, and massive amount of Eagles fans in the crowd. But I've loved it. I've actually had a lot of laughs with it. It's been quirky and weird. It seems low budget, but I don't care. And I'm glad that he's branching out to something even new. His podcast has been massive. So many things he's been doing have been great. But this is another venture, and it's been fun. The last episode I watched was Joe Buck was on there, and his wife, and they were really great together and a lot of fun. I really think you should give it a try. Watch some of the episodes. I think this past weekend was his third episode, and I don't know what night it actually airs live, but they've been showing it on TSN late night on so you can record it or watch it there.
Okay, because I was going to ask you what network can I watch it? So TSN
Yeah.
is I'm sure it's probably on TSN or it's probably on YouTube too as well. I'm sure they do both.
Yeah. Yeah, really, really good and a lot of fun. So, Mahomes didn't do a ton, but he was able to make no mistakes. And
Yeah.
the amazing thing, I'll just blanket this. The amazing thing when I look at the 4 teams that have advanced to the conference championships, all 4 have 0 turnovers in the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
0 turnovers. And that's so key. That is so massively key in football. You only get a certain amount of possessions. If you're handing the ball over to the other team, it can be a 14-point swing, and sometimes it's just the other team is incapable of overcoming it, and he's just not making mistakes. He's utilizing his legs when he needs to at very, very opportune times, and then he's passing the ball, and they're running the ball well. Kelsey was phenomenal, and they're advancing, getting a win. You got to be impressed with what Houston's done the last couple years with CJ Stroud and what they've been able to bring to the table. They were missing 2 very key receivers on this run, Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell, both being hurt. Every team that loses 2 of their top 3 receivers is going to feel that impact. And Houston played above their head, I think, a bit this year. with missing the guys for this long. Nico Collins was out earlier in the season. Luckily, he's back for them. But yeah, I got to give him a bit of a pass. But coming up against the Chiefs in Kansas City, no team has been able to do it in the Mahomes era, been able to win there.
No team has been able to do it. I was pretty sure the Texans weren't going to be able to do it, and then they didn't. So that was no surprise to me.
Yeah.
But at least for Texans fans, they know that their team is going in the right direction.
Yeah.
They are going in the right direction. They will continue to get better. And DeMeco Ryans is one of the best young head coaches in the league by far.
Yeah. Incredible. I love Will Anderson. I think he's a absolute phenomenal talent. Rookie of the year last year. He had another couple sacks in this game, and he's a force on defense. And yeah, there's many things to like about what they bring to the table, but the Chiefs are the Chiefs and getting a win. Mahomes advancing again, trying to go for that three-peat, like I mentioned. They've won 3 Super Bowls in the last 5 seasons. Mahomes has had 15 playoff wins since 2018. That's more than 12 franchises have in their history. 15 playoff wins since 2018, more than 12 have in their entire history. So he's doing crazy things. I was talking on the weekend to people and saying nobody thought Brady's records were going to be broken. When he started getting 5th Super Bowl, 6th Super Bowl, 7th Super Bowl, it was like, okay, he's pushed it out farther than anybody ever could. And no, he hasn't. Mahomes has come along, and there's a realistic possibility that he slaughters Tom Brady's records. And it's an amazing run. I thought when I saw 7 wins in a row, 7 advances to the AFC Championship game, I thought that was a record. Actually, Patriots did it 8 years in a row. So Brady has that record still, but Mahomes is coming, and it's a juggernaut. No matter who comes in and out, as long as they have that core 4, they seem to be the team to beat. And I wouldn't bet against them ever again.
It's really hard because every time that you do it, then it's just like, I should have done that. I shouldn't have done that. The one thing that I do worry about is with Steve Spagnuolo, that one of the teams is eventually going to steal him and be a head coach.
Yeah.
So what Kansas City should really think about to make sure that doesn't happen, they just go to Steve and say, how much more money do you want?
Yeah.
Stay.
Okay. Yeah. Just write a blank check and say stay, because he's one of the only guys in history to win Super Bowls with 2 different franchises, and what he's been able to bring to the table is amazing. Their defense is a little bit unheralded. Most people, when you talk about the Chiefs, you talk about Mahomes and Kelsey and Xavier Worthy, the fastest combine ever, and they're bringing in this guy Hollywood Brown, but D-Hop and all that. But that defense is what keeps them chugging along, winning so many games this year, won so many games over this big unprecedented run.
Yep, absolutely. It's their defense that's been the solidifying factor in this run so far, and it's the defense that they need to lean on at times too as well, and they always seem to come through.
Yeah, they do. Okay, why don't we switch to the second game on Saturday? We had the Detroit Lions, the number 1 seed, hosting the Washington Commanders, the number 6 seed coming in, and the 6 seed actually beat the number 1 seed. It's not like the college football seeding. They were legitimately a 6 seed. Pretty phenomenal. Pretty wild that 2 teams from the NFC East are in the Final Four. Dallas probably doesn't really like seeing that. 2 teams in our division are in the Final Four, and pretty incredible run. Jaden Daniels might be having the greatest rookie quarterback run in NFL history. What he's doing is absolutely incredible and amazing. And we saw a Dan Campbell crying segment again after this game. We hadn't seen tears from Dan in a couple years. It had been a while since we saw Campbell cry, but He shed some tears after this game. Um, you gotta give a ton of credit to Washington. Their defense was phenomenal. Uh, Jared Goff had an off game, probably his worst game of the season, and maybe place some blame there. But I think Washington just won this game. Absolutely offensive juggernaut and a really good defense, and they got the win 45-31 over the number one seed Lions.
Yeah, they're like, first off, Washington's defense was awesome. Their cornerbacks was on top of those receivers all night.
Four picks.
And yeah, four picks, 3 picks.
No, four. They actually got four. They picked
Four.
up
That's
Jameson
right.
Williams
They
on
picked
that
off.
one.
Yeah, 4 picks.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And the one thing that is pretty obvious, you can't blitz Jaden Daniels.
No.
You blitz him, he gets better.
Oh yeah.
Like, not worse. He's
No.
not one of those rookies where you're just like, if I blitz him, he's gonna panic it. No, man.
His numbers get better, actually. His numbers get better. Yeah.
Way better.
Numbers. Yeah.
So they have to, like, now for me, you got to treat him like he's Tom Brady.
Yeah.
You blitz him, he's gonna pick you apart.
Yeah.
So just like maybe blitzing him is not the right move to make.
No.
Because, and the other thing is, he hasn't turned over the ball. He doesn't make the wrong mistakes. He didn't do what Jared Goff did. Didn't take those risks or anything else like that. He took what the defense gives him. He's continually done that. And dude, it's amazing to see, because from where Washington was last year to this year, the major difference is him.
Yeah.
And look at where he's brought him. An NFC Championship game, which is just amazing.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Incredible. It's incredible to see this turnaround by this Washington franchise. As soon as they said F you to Dan Snyder, kicked him out the door, changed this whole complexion, got a proper owner in there, got proper management, got a great coach, was able to draft a fantastic quarterback. And this Washington Commanders team doesn't resemble the Redskins at all. The Redskins that we've been watching for the past 30 years have been horrible, really. This is a totally different franchise, and it's good they have a different name, because, it's hard to even fathom how poor the Redskins were for so long under Dan Snyder and how quickly they've turned this around. 2023 season, they were 4-13 under Ron Rivera. They allowed 189 more points against than they scored. Their turnover differential was -14 that year, all the worst in the NFL. And within, bam, turnaround 2024, all of a sudden this team is in the championship conference final. It's freaking amazing. It's amazing. It's a shocking turnaround.
The shocking turnaround, but you know what? Well deserved.
Yeah.
Like they figured it out.
Proud
they figured
of them.
it out. And one of the first things they had to do was get rid of that parasite, which was the previous owner. And then once they got in the correct culture, the right guy, the right job, everything has come together.
The key additions were obviously Dan Quinn, a really, really great coach. Cliff Kingsbury, I didn't think he did a good job in college. I didn't think he did a good job with the Cardinals, but I think he's done a great job there in Washington. I think it's a really, really good fit. Obviously, Daniels, who I've mentioned tons of times. Bobby Wagner, a lot of teams thought he was done for. Even the Seahawks brought him in on a second go-round. He has been a breath of fresh air there. And Dante Fowler Jr., those three players have really just solidified the team so solidly. Brian Robinson, underrated running back, really phenomenal. Terry McLaurin, I don't think enough people talk about him and what he brings. That guy has amazing hands. You throw the ball up in his vicinity, he's coming down with it. And Daniels loves the guy. This team is fun to watch. I'm really surprised that they've made it this far, but when you see them working like a well-oiled machine that they've been, why should we be surprised?
Exactly. Why should we be surprised? And also, too, now they even got an X factor. in their receiver Brown, who had 6
Yami
receptions
Brown.
for 98
Yeah,
yards.
yeah,
Yeah, man. And
yeah.
he's been a breath of
He's
fresh air
he's
because he
kind of
just
came out
found
of
it,
nowhere, really.
came out of nowhere.
Yeah, the last couple of weeks, 2, 3 weeks, holy cow, came out
Yeah.
of nowhere and been just phenomenal. Absolutely, another 100-yard game from them. They were able to get Austin Eckler and bring him in as a backup guy. He's more of a third down pass catching running back. He had another phenomenal game. This team is pretty damn impressive, and to see them get these 4 picks, unreal. Absolutely unreal defense. Just yeah, blow me away. Sane Still with the two picks. And Zane Gonzalez is their 6th kicker they've used this year. 6 friggin' kickers. So that's tough. Like
Yeah.
you go through a season and you have to go through 6 kickers, and he's not even been that great. And been able to suffer that. I think I'm sort of leaning towards the Eagles winning this next game because Elliott to me is way more reliable than Gonzalez, and a lot of these games come down to these kicks. And but really, really impressive, and it would be wild to see Washington pull off another upset and make the Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl. It might be one of the greatest turnarounds we've seen in sports. The Lions, I was pissed off when I really started wanting to see Gibbs more. He did touch the ball 20 times, but like, oh my God, 14 carries for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns, 6 catches for 70 yards. Like 30, 40 times? Why isn't he touching the ball even more than that? Like they couldn't stop him, but they were trying to throw the ball to lots of people all over the field. Why? You you got a guy they can't stop. He was having a great game as Saquon Barkley. If he handled the ball as much as Barkley did, as much as Derrick Henry did, he's going to have those kind of numbers, and they might win this game. And it's crazy when I see Ben Johnson just got hired by Chicago. I think he screwed up. I think you got Gibbs, and they're not stopping him. So why aren't you just giving him the ball over and over and over and forcing them to stop him? He was unstoppable, and they kind of handcuffed him. And they threw the ball to way too many targets that they got picked off on, and four picks. You're gonna lose the game 95% of the time.
Yeah, yeah. You're turning over the ball way too much. But you do bring up a good point. Like it's kind of one of those things. Like if it's broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
So if you can't stop him, then just keep doing it. Like just do it more often than not. Because if they can't figure out a way to stop that dude, then just keep going with it. Right?
If it's not broke, don't fix it. You said if
Yeah.
it's broke, don't
No,
fix it. But
no,
yeah,
no. Sorry,
yeah.
not broke.
If
Don't
it's
fix it.
not
Yeah.
broke, don't fix it. Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it was insane. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's amazing. He had a phenomenal game. But the targets they were throwing to, some of the passes that Goff made over the middle, that trick play that
No,
Jameson Williams threw the pick on, what a stupid call that was.
yeah.
Unbelievable. Like, only throw that ball. You got to just drill it in Jameson's head. Only throw that ball if the guy's wide freaking open. Only throw that ball. And he launched it up, boom, picked, and way too many bad passes across the middle for Goff. Maybe that's why the Rams gave up on him, and maybe that's why he was never that guy that could win that championship in LA. He seems to have evolved a ton in Detroit, but he regressed and had a really poor game in this one. And I don't know if it was his decision to throw over the middle that many times, but you got to hang that on him as well as Ben Johnson for the play calling.
Yeah, yeah. Some of the play calling was suspect, like especially that trick play right there. That was a play call. Personally, that shouldn't have been called. It
Never
like
been called.
the sheer timing of it was just
Horrible.
off.
Just
Like
terrible.
even when I saw the play, I'm like, why this play now? Like it just didn't even feel like it was appropriate. You know what I mean? So
The Sam Laporta catch in the end zone was spectacular,
oh, that was
absolutely
amazing.
amazing. That guy is, he's going to get a huge contract and Detroit fans hope he stays there. This guy is an incredible talent, and that was one of the most spectacular TD catches in the history of the league. That was amazing that he even got his hand on it and was able to bring
Yeah.
it in.
Yeah, the fact that he got his hand on it, and plus on top of that, he completed the catch just with the one hand. He never brought in his other arm. It was
No.
like, I don't need it. I just
Yeah.
need the one hand. He was amazing.
The other thing, though, I do have to say, and we talked about this a ton, and so have others, that Detroit was decimated with injuries, just
Yes.
decimated with injuries, and this might have finally crept up to on them. They were injured on the defensive side, and Commanders just at will were scoring touchdown after touchdown. Jack Campbell had 14 tackles in this game. Alex Anzalone had 13, and they were all worldly. But they were missing Hutchinson, who they said was going to be ready for the Super Bowl. But if you don't get there, it doesn't matter. There was guys just going down all season long, and I think it finally really bit them and caused this possible upset.
Yeah, and also too, I think even at the beginning of the game, their best cover guy went down with an injury too, as well.
Yeah.
So with all of that accumulation, because let's be honest, 31 points usually should win you a playoff game.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
But the fact that their defense was completely decimated, and the Commanders took advantage of that by hanging 45 on them. You know what? This is as far as they could go. Now, if they had their full complement of defenders, this is a completely different game.
Yeah.
And we all know that.
Yeah. Commanders were dealt a big blow today. They got news that their right guard, Sam Corsi, will be out for the season. He tore his ACL in the game on Saturday, and that's a big blow. He's been their top offensive guard all season. He's only allowed actually one sack out of the whole entire season, only one sack for guys that he was covering. So that's a blow for them, and tough that a guy goes down in the playoffs and it's done, can't advance with them.
Yeah, that sucked. I remember seeing the play. Unfortunately, he got rolled up on, and like as soon as I saw it, I'm like, yeah, he's done.
Yeah.
He's done. So
okay, let's turn to the opening game on Sunday, and the Commanders' division rival, the Eagles, were hosting the Rams. This was fun because this started the snow day. We got the snow day in both games, which really changes the dynamic, for the games. As a coach, I don't care if I'm the head coach, I'm the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, lines, whoever. I'm reiterating 10 times through the day before the game. Hold on to the ball with two hands. Hold on to the ball with your body and two hands. Every time you got the ball, hold on with two friggin' hands over and over and over and over, because I can't believe how much I saw this weekend. A guy's running across the middle, trying to get some extra yardage, ball in one hand. It gets punched out, it gets knocked out, and it leads to a turnover. And as I mentioned earlier, all teams that didn't have turnovers won the games. The teams that didn't ended up losing. Kyron Williams had two fumbles in the Eagles-Rams game earlier this season, and that really was the difference on giving the Eagles the victory in this one. Unfortunately, Kyron had another big fumble that led to the Eagles getting the turnover, getting this victory. Two fumbles for the Rams, and really, obviously, really great play from Jalen Hurts, Jalen Carter, and Saquon Barkley were the difference, getting the Eagles the 28-22 win in this one. It was scary as hell, because it seemed like when Saquon scored that second long touchdown and they were up by 2 touchdowns with about 4.5 minutes left, I was like, all right, yay, we're on easy street here. Yay, we're going to the championship game. And then Stafford gets a quick touchdown and almost gets that team into the end zone again to get the winning score. Oh man, I was sweating bullets at the end of that, but luckily the Eagles got the win. And as I mentioned, yeah, Barkley, Hurts, and Jalen Carter on the defense were just phenomenal.
Absolutely phenomenal. Barkley was just awesome. He's the reason why they got him. Like it's just like, yep, this is why we got you.
Yeah.
And he was absolutely amazing. 26 carries, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, and another 27 yards receiving. Like he did everything that they needed him to do. But the thing is, the Rams defense got burned when they had the one high safety. And they should have learned from their previous game with them in the regular season. When you do that, and if he finds a seam, he's gone.
Gone.
And that guy's not going to be able to catch him. He's not going to get the right angle to tackle. Like he's just going to be gone.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. They did that. And I think it was for both of his long runs, they did that twice.
Yeah.
Burned them every single time. It's like, oh, you did it again. Perfect. Boom.
I think it was the first touchdown that he scored was a 62-yarder.
Yeah.
That was the shortest touchdown that he had against the Rams this year out of the 4 that he scored. So that's insane.
That's insane.
When he scored that 78-yarder,
yeah,
Mike Tirico looked over at Collinsworth in the booth and he said, "Is this Barkley time?" And Collinsworth said, "Absolutely, no doubt about it. 100%. This is Barkley time." They handed the ball off to him. He found that hole. The offensive line immediately knew the hole they were opening for him. He knew the hole to hit. And once he got that speed, that safety, no way he was catching him. And for some reason, I guess maybe because he doesn't get touched enough, he decided to punch himself in the face 2 or 3 times before he scored the touchdown. I don't know what the hell that was all about. But Barkley, was just spectacular. And maybe it validates them sitting him down in that last game of the season.
Yeah.
So he didn't get the Dickerson rushing record. Maybe he's fresher, probably not any different, but they're gonna point to that and say, "Hey, look what we did. I'm glad we did it. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. That's the right play to say. It's like, this is the reason why we sat him down, so he could have like over 200 yards, right? Rushing. That's why we did it. So yeah, they look like geniuses, but I think this is more due with Barkley's talent and his will to win. And the Eagles have done it again. Oh, and by the way, I do want to put this out. Didn't hear anything from AJ Brown, so that was good.
Yeah. Didn't see him much. He was kind of a non-factor as well.
But didn't pout. Didn't
pout. Didn't have his book out. Didn't pout. Yeah. It was amazing. That week 12 game that the Eagles beat the Rams in, Barkley had 26 rushes for 255 yards and 2 touchdowns. This game, he had 24 carries, 196 yards, and a couple touchdowns. And his shortest touchdown was 62 yards. So pretty absolutely incredible numbers. And right away, as soon as he scored that second touchdown, I had to send you that clip of them, in that Hard Knocks meeting where they were trying to negotiate with him, and then they decided they had to move on. Mara ends up looking over at Cohen and saying, "Oh man, like I'll have a hard time sleeping at night if he goes to the Eagles." And I don't know if he could have buried himself deep enough in New Jersey somewhere to not watch that game and not be just triggered seeing Saquon and what he's done for this Eagles team. And it's got to be tough to be a Giants fan and see what Saquon's doing.
He's got to be tough, like for the mere fact that you devalued him that much.
Yeah.
That you just thought he's just not worth it. Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Crazy.
Really? Okay. So this is what Philadelphia Eagles said to themselves. I think he is worth it. I think he's going to do really well with our offensive line, which is pretty much, you could argue, probably the best in the NFL. I wonder how good he could be with our offensive line.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we're seeing it. It's really goddamn good.
I think it would be such poetic justice for the running backs in the NFL if the Eagles could win the Super Bowl and Barkley win the MVP, get another 200-yard game like this. Just to, just say, F you guys, you devalued us. We had to have a special meeting to try to say, what the hell is going on? How can they be saying that running backs are a thing of the past? And we don't need them anymore. They're just easily replaceable, and you know you can easily win without a top running back, and you know both Derrick Henry and Saquon and you know James Cook and many of these guys this year have had phenomenal seasons, and you know really were able to show that that narrative was very wrong.
The narrative is very, very wrong, completely wrong. It's been wrong for a long time, and the Eagles have shown this is what happens when you have a top tier running back. You can depend on him to literally win you the game.
Yeah,
Literally do that, like just to win you the game. Put the
absolutely.
team on his back and win you the game.
Okay, one of the only concerns for the Eagles fans, the Eagles organization, is that Jalen Hurts was banged up in this game. He got tackled. He got sacked 7 more times. The Rams actually had 16 sacks in their 2 playoff games. That is tied for third all time in one postseason. If they would have advanced another game, like they could have pushed that record way out. The Niners in '84 had 19 sacks in one postseason. That's the best ever. The Washington Redskins had 18 in '87, and Rams were able to tie Buffalo and Chicago with 16 sacks in one postseason, 2 games. That defense was pretty phenomenal. We're able to pressure the hell out of Hurts when he was going back to pass the ball, but Saquon was able to remedy that with an incredible performance. I'm a little worried because he was taking so much abuse. He left the game and he put on a severe brace, and then immediately they were backed up to their 5 yard line. They called a play where he was to fade back into the end zone and look for a target and got sacked again right after he came back, got hobbled. I saw him limping pretty badly. Quite a concern. He is so key. That 44-yard run touchdown that he had earlier, longest of the season for him, and he was really demonstrating that he was healthy. But after hit after hit after hit after hit, yeah, he's banged up, and I hear the questionable tag is on him. I think he'll play, but tough to see him take that much abuse in a win.
Yeah, taking that much abuse, especially within those conditions, because like when you get tackled to the ground on on a frozen field, doesn't feel good.
Feels
Doesn't
bad,
feel good
yeah.
at all.
Feels
Yeah.
very bad, yeah. The Eagles also lost their rookie safety Quinion Mitchell to a shoulder injury. He was ruled out of this game. I expect to see him back, even if he's going to be less than 100%. I think he'll be there. And yeah, moving forward, we'll see them. Impressive run for the Rams. They had a really tough part of the season where Cup and Nakua were out and they weren't winning. They went on a really, really impressive run. You got to be blown away by what they did, what they've done for um, the LA community after undergoing all the fires and everything. I understand that so many of the players have donated a ton of money, a ton of time, support, clothing, food, many things to a lot of the people that have been displaced. And, you know, they were kind of becoming, you know, fan favorites for how much they were rallying around and trying to help everybody that was impacted by the fires.
Yeah, man. Like they did what the organization's supposed to do, like rally for the community and try to be like that spark, that light for the community
Yeah.
in these tough times, right? Unfortunately, they couldn't get this win, but going forward, the Rams are going to be a-okay. They're going to be all right, man. They got a great organization that's run very well. Sean McVay's an absolute stud. Stafford still's got it going on. He did throw for over 300 yards in that game with 2 touchdowns, and they have the weapons, man. And on top of that, they obviously have the defense, even without Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
Now, how much scarier would that defense have been? You said they tied with 16 sacks. If Aaron Donald was actually still there for this season, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Totally amazing. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, this Jared Verse came in and was phenomenal. He had 2 sacks, led the way. Whole bunch of other guys had 1 sack each, and And yeah, they got Nakua, they got Cup, they got Demarcus Robinson, who's actually been phenomenal too. And then Tyler Higbee, great tight end. Colby Parkinson got a touchdown. Kyron Williams was great. He has to definitely not fumble the ball like he has lately. But yeah, future's bright for the Rams for sure. I was so scared of the Rams coming down and winning that game. They threw up a graphic just as the Rams were getting the ball and starting on that last drive. 51 game-winning touchdowns for Stafford since what is it, 20 in his career, including the postseason, fourth quarter overtime, 51 game-winning drives, more than any other quarterback in the time he's been in the league. So yeah, scary, and I'm glad he finally on 4th and 11 was pressured too much, tried to throw to Nakua in the corner. It was out of bounds, and Eagles had the win.
Yeah, the Eagles got lucky because Stafford, if he had a little bit more
He had
time,
another second of time. I
had
think he
another second.
completes that pass, and
Yeah,
look out. Yeah, and because Elliott had missed a PAT earlier,
yeah,
they would have won that game if they just kick their own point after after a touchdown. So I would have been
absolutely.
insane, an
Yep.
absolutely insane turnaround.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
Okay, let's go to the final game of the weekend. This is the game that everyone was talking about because it had the two consensus MVP candidates facing off against each other, the Ravens and the Bills. We were just really excited to see these two teams battle it out. Also in the snow. So yeah, what do you say? What do you say? Deep control of the ball, two hands on the ball, two hands on the ball. The miscues that the Ravens had ended up leading to the Bills winning 27-25 in this one. The MVP has been already decided weeks ago, end of the regular season. They have to get their votes in, but this was great to see Josh Allen be able to exercise a ton of demons that the Bills franchise has had, losing 4 straight Super Bowls, having a long playoff drought, and then making the playoffs, but just not getting to the promised land over the past half dozen years in Josh Allen's career. And finally, they've taken that one extra big step forward, beating the Ravens. Josh Allen was great. James Cook was phenomenal. And, their defense was very key, obviously, picking off Lamar, getting some big fumble recoveries. Lamar had the big fumble that he was stripped by DeMar Hamlin, and the big pickoff as well. Really contributed to the Bills getting this win.
Absolutely. And what you had mentioned before, the Bills, no turnovers, one penalty. They pretty much played a perfect game.
Perfect game, yeah.
A perfect game, right? And that's what they absolutely had to do to win that game. And unfortunately, the Ravens made a couple of costly mistakes with the pick, with the fumbles, with Mark Andrews' fumble. Even with all of that, they still had a chance to tie that game.
Yeah.
And they would have tied that game if Andrews had caught the 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
And it just fumbled. Like, it was so surreal for me to see it fumble out of his hands and to be like, he usually always catches that.
Always
Catches that.
Yeah. He had an earlier drop, but it was knocked out by a defensive player.
Defender, yeah.
He had that fumble where he was trying to get some extra yardage, and maybe that was on his brain when he was trying to catch that 2-pointer, maybe, possibly. He is so reliable, so reliable. He came in the same draft that Lamar came in. He's been his favorite target, other than the injury seasons. He's been his favorite target. I think he has over 400 catches in the regular season. I think he has something like 30 or 40 in the playoffs. Super reliable. That was a hell of a great play call for a 2-point conversion. Lamar could have maybe delivered that ball a little bit higher, a little bit, more to the middle of his chest instead of low, or he had to go down for it. But I feel so sorry for Mark Andrews, who's been Mr. Reliable. And That fumble earlier in the game was his first fumble in over 5 years. 2019 was the last time he fumbled, and that's only his second fumble in his entire career. So he's, you can't call a guy any more reliable than him. So I don't know, it was something that knocked that ball out of his hands. It was bizarre. I don't know if it had to be mental, physical, what it was, if it was coldness. I don't know, but holy cow. Lamar had marched that team down, threw that beautiful touchdown, almost had this game, tied again. I think the Bills still win this game, even if they tie it, because they had 2 timeouts. They had a minute and a half. Josh Allen was marching that team down the field when he could. So, I'm not saying that Baltimore wins this game, but it would have been amazing to see that tied, the possibility of overtime, the possibility of the Bills having that one last drive in overtime. But crazy. I would not have thought that Mark Andrews would have been considered the GOAT of the game, the guy that lost them the game, and people are going to say that today, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's unfortunate because he's been just Mr. Reliable for so long. And just the fact that he didn't catch that ball, to me, I'm like, well, sometimes fate is what it is.
Yeah.
That's fate. Because normally 9.5 times out of 10, that guy catches that ball, and then we go to overtime.
Yeah.
9.5. And this just happened to be the half that he just didn't.
Lamar played really, really, really good. The pick that he threw was a bad pass, and he shouldn't have thrown that ball. It was totally over the receiver's head, in no man's land. I don't know why he threw that ball the way he did. The fumble, you got to kind of blame a little bit on that because he was just holding the ball with one hand.
Yeah.
He was trying to scamper and get loose from DeMar coming through the middle. But he was very impressive. The one drive they had where they just marched all the way down the field, Derrick Henry had the ball and was able to score, and Lamar was hitting all his targets through the game. I feel bad for Lamar because quite possibly he's a 3-time MVP and never been able to get the team to the levels that he needs them to. He's 3-5 in the playoffs in his career. He's putting up Hall of Fame numbers. He's got the most rushing yards of any quarterback in history. He's got, incredible amounts of great, stats and what he's done, but can't get this team past there. I heard somebody say this, and I want to say this as well. Michael Jordan is considered the greatest NBA player of all time by many, many, many people's accounts. And he didn't win his first championship until his 7th year.
Right.
This, I think, will be Lamar's 7th year coming up. And to me, was a very brilliant observation. A lot of people don't think of that, don't say that, don't talk about that. When they talk about Jordan as the GOAT, they talk about those three-peat twice and, that incredible run for the Bulls and stuff. But he had to get over the hurdles of the Pistons. He had to get over the hurdles of the Celtics. He had to, beat a lot of teams till finally he was able to assemble the team he needed to get that championship.
Absolutely. And the other thing that Lamar is now has to deal with is he has to deal with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in their prime.
Yeah.
Like the fact that, yes, he's awesome, but he also has to meet those guys every year in the playoffs and try to knock them both off if he wants to get to the promised land. That ain't easy.
It's kind of like the Manning Brady thing. It's kind of like that, right? We're seeing that in the AFC. We're seeing that in the NFC. We're seeing that. We're seeing, Mahomes is the new Brady, and who's the new Manning? Is it Josh Allen? Is it Lamar Jackson? Is it somebody else? How many times did Manning have to come up against Brady and go home disappointed? It happened many
times. Many times, right? He's going to suffer quite a bit before he gets there. But I like your analogy. Year 7 could be Lamar's year.
This game was historic. There was something shown at the very beginning of the game. The two teams had combined for 130 touchdowns entering this playoff game. That was the most all time. And they had only combined for 19 turnovers going into that game, the fewest entering a playoff game of all time. So, whoever was able to hold on to the ball
Yep.
and, not make those mistakes. Unfortunately for the Ravens, they made more mistakes than the Bills made. Josh Allen was kind of known for being that
Yep.
gunslinger, being that guy that made mistakes. He typically had about let's say 30 touchdowns a season and maybe about 15, 20 turnovers. And he was, that guy like Brett Favre used to be. You could always count on him to sling it and get a few turnovers. It could be fumbles, could be turnovers, but Josh Allen really, really, really has changed that narrative and has been very protective of the ball. And the one play that just blew my mind was when they were marching in and they had the ball about the 2 or 3 yard line, and Allen grabbed the ball to try to get another rushing touchdown, and he was stuffed and he was facing backwards. And for a brief second, he almost tossed the ball back to
Yes.
his running back, back to Cook or whoever was back there. Might have been Davis, somebody. And then he thought better of it and just ate it and got sacked. It was a moment where I thought, hey, he's matured. He's
Yep.
actually, has a thought in his mind and has the second thought in his mind. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to make that mistake. We're going to kick a field goal or we're going to go for it again and live another day. And to me, that epitomized the change in Josh Allen I've seen this year.
Yeah, that showed growth. Like
Mhm.
he's matured, he's shown growth. And also too, he's considered the fact that, you know what, the elements the way that they are outside today, maybe that's not a great play.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe that's not the right play. So
I I do feel that the Ravens also didn't utilize Derrick Henry early enough. I thought he got stuffed on the first couple of his rushes. He also dropped that one pass to him that really was crucial, and he's never been a back that got many catches out of the backfield, and I think that's something that he needs to work into his game. I think he'll be so unbeatable if he has that as well. I don't know why he hasn't been able to develop that, and they can't get on the same page with that. But I still think they should have given him the ball more often early, because on that one drive where he had the ball almost every play of that drive, they were able to easily go down and score a touchdown, and Buffalo couldn't do anything about it. We saw what happened for the Eagles against the Rams. I think this could have been the same thing. And you're able to have that defense on the field for so long. You're able to control the clock. You're not having the ball in Josh's hands. I think he could have had the ball more often early, and I think maybe even changes the narrative of this game and gives the Ravens the chance to win.
yeah, because that one drive, like you were saying before, that you pointed out, where they dominated the line of scrimmage, and
Yeah,
there was nothing they could do. Like
nothing.
Henry was just a beast, and he just kept moving it. So,
Yeah.
with that being said, yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. It could have changed the dynamics of the game just because of the amount of control they would have had with the ball, and having Josh Allen with the ball less is always a good thing.
Yeah. Like Bateman's great. I think Isaiah Likely's great. Andrews is great. Had a tough game. Tylan Wallace, one catch, 27 yards. And they have no Zay Flowers. That's their number one receiver. He's out. So, I turn way more to a game where, I'm running the ball, especially in those conditions. It was pretty snowy. It was pretty ugly weather. Some of those kicks were just blowing like crazy. I could tell it was going to be hard to have a passing game. I kind of would have abandoned most of the passing game myself totally and just relied on Lamar's legs when you can do some design plays for Lamar and hand the ball off to Derek 25, 30 times. I think they win.
Yeah, because like that's what the Bills did. They had a very
Yeah.
simplified offense.
Yeah.
They didn't depend on Allen's arm because they knew what the weather was going to be like.
Conditions.
Then
Yeah.
they knew about the conditions,
Yeah.
and then they were just like, "We're just going to have a very simple offense. This is what we're going to do. Run when you need to, but we're going to keep this run base oriented." And they got the win. And
Yeah.
on top of that, they obviously stressed to the team no turnovers, which is
Yeah.
exactly what they did.
That was the halftime margin was the largest deficit that the Ravens had had all season long. All season long. In every single game, that was the largest deficit they had at the half. I thought they had some pretty poor play calling early that really contributed to them being behind. They were the better team in the second half, but they were too far behind to come back. Baltimore came in as the first team in NFL history with a 2,000-yard rusher and a 1,000-yard rusher. Never been done in the history of the game. You got Henry at 2,000. You got Lamar 1,000. I don't understand why you don't see that that's the way you win the game.
Yeah, yeah, it kind of speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you're that dominant running the ball, maybe continue to keep doing that, running the ball.
Josh Allen is the only player in NFL postseason history with over 250 yards passing per game and 50 yards rushing per game. But Sean McDermott and this team realized, nope, we're not getting him to throw for 250 yards in this game. We're
No.
getting the ball to Cook, and we're gonna win on the ground. Davis, phenomenal. They were able to have three of the running backs contributed into this game, and I thought that was definitely one of the most important things. Buffalo is the only team in NFL history with 30 passing touchdowns and 30 rushing touchdowns in a regular season. Only team ever. And I thought a balanced attack was very smart until I heard that it was gonna friggin' snow like that.
Yeah.
So, I changed my philosophy. Well, and that is one of the reasons why I'm very disappointed Buffalo is going to have an indoor stadium coming up. They're building an indoor stadium. I think this is such a massive advantage for them when teams come in and have to play in those type of conditions. It happens so often. We see it. The Dolphins come in every year and never can win there. Most
Yeah.
of the teams that come in there can't win on those conditions. And Bills are giving away that massive home field advantage and not being able to play in those conditions. And you got to think, okay, yeah, look at this. Do you think we should run or should we pass? I think running might be smart here.
Yeah, exactly. I think running might be smart. It's unfortunate because like you use everything to your advantage that you can, whether that be the weather or not. And so if it's supposed to be just an indoor stadium, not with the retractable roof.
No, just indoor.
Well, that sucks because
Yeah.
they're giving up like a home field advantage with the weather the way it is.
Yeah.
They're giving that up.
Good for like pussy fans, but like Bills Mafia got pretty tough fans, pretty resilient, and to live in that city, you got to be tough. And
Yeah, absolutely.
I personally don't think I would love being outside in those kind of blizzardy conditions, but as a fan, but to know that it's going to help my team go farther, I think I might be thinking, yeah, it's better to stay here than go into some indoor place.
No, I would be more than willing to make that commitment to the team and say, no, have the outdoor stadium. I'm gonna watch at home, but you guys
Yeah.
got to play outside. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
Lamar Jackson has now 4 games in his 8 game postseason career where he's had 2 or more turnovers in a game. In 94 career regular season games, he only has 14 of those games. So, yeah, 4 out of 8 where he has had true turnovers. He's got to address that, coming forward into his 7th year. But why don't we place a bet? 7th year, Lamar Jackson is going to finally win the Super Bowl and go on a nice run. This year, those mistakes just were too much to overcome. And Mark Andrews, his most reliable guy, having probably the worst game of his career. That's really a terrible, terrible time to have that game.
Very much a terrible time to have that game. But let's be honest, is it going to happen to Andrews again? Probably not.
Yeah, no.
Probably not.
John
History shows
Harbaugh
it.
came into that game with 8 career road wins in the postseason. That was the most all time for any head coach in NFL history. So, you had to know that he could do it, but overcoming those overcoming the mistakes they made, it was just too much, and
Yep.
so we're unfortunately, sending Lamar packing, and should be a great, incredible championship weekend coming up this weekend. I'm just pulling up the schedule to make sure I've got it correct. So the first game is the Eagles hosting the Commanders. That's at noon Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern time. First game. What do you think? Do you think the Commanders could actually come in there and pull off another massive upset?
I think it's entirely possible, but they have to play almost perfect football. They can't. They Jaden Daniels will have to continue doing what he's been doing so far, which is no turnovers of the football from himself.
Yeah.
Absolutely none. And then he will give his team a chance to beat the Eagles, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
It's really hard to play in beat the road team in that arena with the Philly fans the way that they are. It's going to be tough. And I think Philadelphia on their side of the thing is all they need to do is trust in Saquon, give him the ball.
Yeah.
Give him the ball as many times as you can.
I think this is great because these are division rivals. They face each other twice a year, have forever and ever and ever, have a ton of history against each other, and have played each other twice this year already. So we've got a lot of things to break down from what we saw earlier in the season. The first game they played each other was November the 14th. The Eagles were able to win 26-18. Jalen Hurts had a decent game, 220 yards passing. He had 10 carries for 39 yards and one touchdown running. Barkley had 26 carries for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Blankenship had a big pick off of Jaden Daniels. Barkley scored the two late touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and also Hurts' touchdown. Actually, the Eagles scored 3 touchdowns in that fourth quarter to get that victory and get the win. Daniels just had an okay game in that one. 22 for 32, 191 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Robinson was their top running back. On the ground, he had 63 yards and another 10 through the air. He scored a touchdown. Eckler was really good. He got 8 catches for 89 yards, and Zach Ertz had a touchdown, and Frankie Luvu had a couple sacks in that game. So Eagles 26, Commanders 18. The second game was December 22nd, very recent. That was the game that Jalen Hurts ended up getting concussed in. He got knocked out partway through the game, and Small Hands had to come in and try to bring the Eagles to victory. The Commanders won 36-33 in the game. Daniels had an absolutely phenomenal game. 258 yards passing and 5 touchdowns, and another 81 yards on the ground there. Oladimi Zacchaeus was his top guy with 2 touchdowns through the air. And Jamison Crowder also had a touchdown late. They scored with 6 seconds left. Jamison Crowder was able to get the touchdown to put them into the victory. I think if Hurts plays the entire game, this is a definite, very big change. But Pickett was 14 of 24, 143 yards and a touchdown. Hurts was in there early and had a few numbers on the ground, but as I said, was concussed. Barkley had another big game, 29 carries, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns. A.J. Brown also had a touchdown and 100 yards. And Blankenship picked off Daniels in that game as well. He's picked him off twice in 2 different games this year. So pretty cool that we can break down those games. We can watch them. I plan to watch them. I'm sure they're going to show them on the NFL Network this week as we head towards that game. I do remember that December 22nd game way, way better than that earlier game. I do remember both of the games, but yeah, it's kind of great that this will be a third matchup we get to see against them.
I think it's awesome. It's awesome that we get to see that again, and the fact that both these teams made it to the NFC Championship game, and so that they're super familiar with each other.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very much a chess match between the two head coaches, trying to scheme and disguise things that they think is going to be run, but it's going to be something completely different.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be a lot of that.
Can't wait. Can't wait for it. It's going to be great. Back in Philly, let's hope it snows and Saquon gets the ball 35 times and Eagles advance to the Super Bowl again. Okay, turn to the afternoon game. It's a 3:30 kickoff in KC. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Bills against the Chiefs. 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern time. They faced each other November the 17th this year. The Bills ended up winning that game 30-21. That was the Chiefs' first loss of the year. They were 9-0 going into that game, and Josh Allen was great. He ended up having 262 yards and a touchdown through the air, 12 carries for 55 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Cook had 2 touchdowns, and Shakir was good. Amari Cooper also had 2 catches for 55 yards. Knox contributed, and yeah, they were pretty solid. Mahomes had a good game, threw for 3 touchdowns, but 2 picks were huge. The picks were from I don't know. I don't know if I have them here, but yeah. Noah Gray had 2 touchdowns. Xavier Worthy had the other. Kelsey was really shut down in this game, only had 2 catches for 8 yards. And there was 1 pick from Connor off Josh Allen. But yeah, 30-21 victory, the Bills. That was a really highly anticipated game because, as I said, the Chiefs were undefeated before that game. And, always love to see Mahomes and Allen face each other. And yeah, so that's a game we can break down as well this week heading in.
It's going to be an awesome game because those two never they always put on a great show.
Yeah.
Whenever they compete in the playoffs, they always put on a great show. And I am super looking forward to it. I think the Chiefs just need to make sure that they win the turnover battle to ensure the win. Yeah. But it's, like for the Chiefs this year, somehow, some way, they've always managed to figure it out. But this time it's going to be very, very tough because the Bills I think this might be the best version of the Bills we've seen yet. I think this is the best version of them. So it's going to be a great game. I have no idea who's going to win this game. I really don't. I think it's a toss-up between these 2 teams.
They faced each other at this level back in 2020. The Chiefs ended up winning that game 38-24. The odds makers have the Chiefs favored by 1.5 going in, the over-under at 48.5. On the other game, first game, the Eagles are favored by 5.5. 47.5 is the over-under for that one. So yeah, should be pretty damn amazing. They're both matchups really fun. I'm glad they played each other this year, so there is some familiarity there. They'll be able to break down a lot of tape this week heading in, and we could see some really inclement weather again, which is always, in my opinion, one of the best things about football. It contributes to the enjoyment of watching from your nice, warm, comfy couch.
Yeah, absolutely. It sure does. It sure does add to it.
Yeah. Good. Okay, let's break down the UFC. We had UFC 311 from the Intuit Dome in LA this past weekend. Absolutely awesome arena. Kind of gave me a little bit of vibes of the Sphere, just the way that incredible
wraparound
scoreboard is just absolutely amazing. Some of the images they were able to project up there, it really added so much to it. That is such a gorgeous stadium. The Clippers are really, really amazingly lucky that Ballmer was able to build that for them. And now we can get cool events like this there. There was talk about it not being able to happen there because of the fires. I'm glad they didn't pull it. I'm glad the guys were able to get there, go to this, and try to forget about the fires for a few hours while they're watching fights. I was super excited about so many of the fights on this card, and then we were rocked on Friday when we heard that Arman Tsarukyan was out and he wasn't going to be able to fight in the main event. And they decided to quickly make sure Hanato Moicano would accept the fight. It changed the whole dynamic, and unfortunately, didn't deliver as much greatness as I thought it was going to deliver. If we got to see the top contender against the champion instead of the number 10 contender against the champion. Really, one of my only complaints about this card. It's just unfortunate that an injury to Arman's back ended up forcing him out of the fight, and they had to make some changes and put Moicano up. Dariush is off the card, and they had to do it. This was a mismatch, unfortunately. Islam ends up getting the win, but yeah, just really sad that it didn't pull together like it was supposed to.
Yeah, it kind of sucked. My only question is, I'm not second guessing that Sarukian had an injury. I'm just wondering when the injury happened. Like, were they was his team trying to monitor the injury to see if he could go or not? Because it seemed really close to the date for them to finally say, you know what, he can't go. He's got an injury.
Yeah.
I thought that could have happened a lot sooner. That's all.
Yeah. This is his quote today. Wednesday. Okay, so he said Wednesday after training, I went to
Okay.
sleep and I started to feel my lower back hurting me. I couldn't sleep all night and I thought something happened to my back. I took some painkillers, but it didn't help. The next day, I thought it was going to be good. And after the press conference, I was starting my weight cut. And when I started my weight cut, I was on the bike, and all of a sudden, my back just froze up. It got stuck, and I couldn't move at all.
Okay.
And it just never got better, supposedly. Dana
Okay.
White really showed a ton of frustration in the post-fight press conference. It really seemed like he was like, the guy should have fought. The guy should have fought. And he's not giving him a title shot when he gets healthy.
Oh, wow.
He made that announcement that no, he's got to go back in line, fight some more before he gets another shot. So I think he took it personally. I think he said that he made mention that their PI doctor went and examined him, and he sort of insinuated what the statement that he made, that the doctor didn't really feel that it was enough to not fight. And so maybe we'll hear some more
Mhm.
coming out of it, but that's kind of what I can shed some light on of what I've heard and seen so far. And we heard Marab in the co-main event talk about how injured he was going into the fight, but he just sucked it up and said, UFC's given me this chance and has given me so many opportunities. I had a bad back. I had a bad leg cut in my leg. I had an infection, and I fought still. So we'll see. We'll see what happens to Sarukian and how much this derails, his ability to get a title shot and maybe an opportunity to hold the belt. But yeah, from my accounts, from kind of digging between what Dana said in the press conference, is that he should have fought, and he's mad that he didn't, so he's not getting a title shot when he gets healthy.
Yeah, that's not great. It almost would have been. It would have been better if he just said that he was injured earlier. Like because like I knew that there was going to be a major problem when he said he got injured and was so close to the fight. Like if there's one thing that pisses off Dana White more than anything else is that.
Yeah.
Like you're that close to the actual event and all of a sudden you have this injury.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like where you should have been taking your foot off the gas now that you're getting closer and closer to the event, to fight time. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden now this happens to your back. So I can see where he's coming from a strictly business, trying to
Business.
run a business, trying to have successful fights here.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you told me Moicano's in and Sarukian's out, I'm like, well, then that's just why am I watching this fight? Because like that's what I expected to happen. It happened. Where Makachev comes in and starches him and gets the submission in round one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of what I expected to happen.
Yeah. Moicano's just not on his level.
No, he's not.
Moicano's a
Not even
great
close.
fighter, but he's just not on his level. And the reason why we were excited about Sarukian was it seemed like he brought a lot of elements to the table that might be able to neutralize the great things that Islam brings to the table. And
Yeah.
it might be just that particular matchup that is needed to give him a really, really super tough fight and possibly beat him. So, I don't see many fighters in that division being able to beat Islam right now. It's just his skill set doesn't lend to a certain type of fighter being able to beat him. But Sarukian seemed to be the guy that maybe had that chance.
Yeah, maybe would have had that chance. Now the question is, all right, Uncle Data, you're super pissed. Cool. How many fights does he have to fight before he gets a shot again?
Yeah.
Because like that's my real question. Is it going to be one, two, or is he really pissed at him?
Really pissed.
Three.
Yeah, it could be a while.
It really could be a while, man. Like he might not get his like. Let's say this: if Sarukian fights, say 2 times this year, that still might not be enough. No. So whatever he's thinking, he's definitely not getting a shot this year. That's done. It's off the table now.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely off the table, and I don't think we're going to see him getting a shot at it. And it's just too bad. It's really too bad. Islam has talked a lot about the possibility of being able to be a two-time champion or a two-division champion, sorry. And does he move up to fight Bilal? Or does he move down and fight Topuria? He's fought Jovanovski when Jovanovski moved up a couple times. Do we see a super fight between that? Topuria threw it out there, said, "I'll come and kick your ass." After the fight, he tweeted it out. Do you think it's realistic that we can see him fight the champion of the other divisions that are above or below?
You know what? I don't think he could do Bilal at welterweight. I think he's too small. I don't think that would work. But at the same time, could he drop the weight to fight Topuria? Maybe, but that sounds like that would be a really hard weight cut for him too as well. So I don't really know because he like literally his weight is perfect for where he's at.
Yeah.
Because if he were to go up, I'm like, I don't know if you're strong enough. Like I don't know if you're big enough or strong enough. And then for him to go down, that seems like a really tough weight cut. Like you're gonna look like Conor McGregor when he fought Jose Aldo, where he's like, "Oh, you look like a skeleton. Oh, that's pretty cool. Good for you." So I don't know.
It's very hard. It's very tough. Yeah, it's a very tough. To be able to drop that much weight, I don't know if you can do it. And I think I would rather see him go up, face Bilal, but who knows? Maybe Bilal will be champion still. Maybe he won't. Maybe there'll be somebody else in there. I'm sure that Bilal will be fighting this year early too. So, it's going to be interesting. There was talk about Charles Oliveira having another shot at it. If he stays in this division, fights next, probably that's the guy that most people would like to see again.
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
I was looking at this card as it was put together, and I was thinking, wow, this is such an evolution and change to the way the UFC is now. We had a Russian fighting a Georgian on the main card and the co-main, the main event and the co-main event. Pretty amazing. There's only been 3 Russian champions in the history of the UFC, and 2 of them are coming out of this Eagles camp. They had a guy in the main event, co-main event, and the first fight of the night. And these Dagestanis are very, very, very tough to beat. Khabib had an incredibly great run, but I actually think that Islam has had even more impressive of a run. And Dana White said, hands down, he's the pound for pound champion right now, and he's the greatest lightweight of all time. And Dana's been there from near the beginning. You have to start thinking that Islam has that. And it's pretty damn impressive what he's been able to do. And Khabib told everybody, look out for my guy. He's coming. And, we saw Aljo do that with Merab too. Aljo's like, look out. I'm going to have to eventually evacuate this division because I want Merab in there. He's going to be the champ. And it's come to fruition in both cases. So pretty wild to watch and witness the changing of the guard of the UFC, and these guys coming from these countries way over there in Asia.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Makhachev, he now has the most title defenses as a lightweight champion.
Yeah.
Yep. So with that being said, right there and then, he's the best. Yeah. He's by far the best. And without Sarukian, without him now having to worry about Sarukian, he's just like, sweet. Get to keep the belt for sure for another year.
For a while. Yeah, no kidding.
Because I don't see anybody beating him. There's nobody in that division besides Sarukian. There's nobody that's going to beat him. So,
we don't often get UFC payouts this early, but they were released today, and I'm pretty happy to be able to divulge a lot of the payouts that these guys got. And the thing that kind of blew me away, and this isn't. This actually doesn't include any viewership points, like pay-per-view points, any additional earnings, any bonuses, any sponsorship money, but this is their base salary. And Moicano got paid more than Islam got paid for the main event. Moicano got 250,000 and Islam only got 200K. So he must be getting pay-per-view points and money off of that. Moicano maybe 0.
Yeah. That makes sense, because what you just said makes no sense. It's like, wait, the champion gets paid less than the challenger? Awesome.
Pretty wild. Merab blew both those guys away, and Merab ended up getting $500,000, and Umar got $100,000. So for some reason, Islam got no win bonus, and so Merab got no win bonus. But Merab gets paid $500,000. Islam gets paid $200,000 base salary. So pretty bizarre, pretty weird. I don't remember seeing the co-main guy getting more than the main guy in quite a while.
You know what? You know what I'm thinking is that's because they have a difference in their point system for the pay-per-view. Probably Merab gets less, and then probably Islam gets a heck of a lot.
I guarantee that.
Yeah, I guarantee that for sure.
Yuri Prochazka ended up getting 250K as well. Jamal Hill got paid 200K for that fight. Gelton Almeida 220. That was his double salary because he got 110 to show, 110 to win. Spivak got 100K. Renair de Ritter got 210. That was his double for the show and win. And Kevin Holland only 50K. No, sorry. 250K. Johnny Barcelos, just under 100,000, 96,000, 48 to show, 48 to win. Peyton Talbot, 43. Azamat Bekov, 24K, and Zachary Reese, 30K. 24K was the lowest amount fighters got throughout the whole entire card. He got the lowest. Bernardo Sopai also got 24K. And down and down and down from there. Grant Dawson got a really big payday for his fight, 212K. He got the double 106 for show, 106 for win, and his opponent 100K, down and down and down. But yeah, pretty wild to watch the payouts and see how they paid it. The other guys that got really low amounts were Sopai with 24, Tercios 28. Ulan Bekov actually first fight of the night 72K, and Clayton Carpenter only 28 for showing there. So yeah, yeah,
Not bad.
pretty cool, pretty wild to see the payouts this early and be able to talk about them on the podcast. I always look, but very rarely do they come out. Another thing was brought out during the broadcast, and it was that Craig Pelesian was nominated to the UFC Hall of Fame. He's most well known as the executive producer of the Ultimate Fighter show that really propelled the UFC into the spotlight and changed the sport, was able to really start the ball rolling, move this company from the really a fringe sport to become such a global phenomenon it is. And great to see him recognized. Loved the Ultimate Fighter and how it changed lives and how it really changed the sport and gave us what we see now to this day.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that he was instrumental in that change to making the sport mainstream was like, sometimes you just don't realize that the guys behind the scenes have played such a major role in giving us what we see now today.
Yeah, it's mind blowing and super cool, and great to see him recognized that way. The 50K bonuses, I think I kind of briefly mentioned it there, but Yuri Prochazka got one, Jelton Almeida got the other, and the fight of the night was Merab against Umar, and let's talk about that one now. This was a hell of a great fight. No wonder Merab has the nickname The Machine, because that is what he is. He is relentless. He is unrelenting when it comes to trying to get the takedowns, get the domination of this fight. He might have lost those first 2 rounds, but he definitely took over this fight from round 3 onwards. Won those 3 rounds heavily, in my opinion, and deserved this victory over a super tough guy in Umar, Khabib's cousin. And this, as I mentioned earlier, this Dagestani team that seems to be destined to win and get a lot of belts over their history. Huge win for Merab. And this was kind of how I sort of saw the Islam Sarukian fight kind of playing out, how this Merab Umar fight ended up happening.
Like it was super obvious to me that Umar obviously had the better stand up, the more accurate, the more technical stand up.
Yeah.
But Merab is like a dog on a bone. And even if he, with Umar having the advantage in the striking and the stand up, Merab still got his hits in, still got his licks in. And because of the mere fact that he would constantly putting pressure on Umar, he never let him off the hook. And even with Umar's, and it was ridiculous takedown defense, absolutely ridiculous takedown defense. Merab was just like, don't care, it's still gonna keep coming after you. And like he was just basically draining his gas tank. Oh, I didn't get it that time. Cool, I'll try it again and again and again and again and again, until finally, eventually, he started to get those takedowns. Because Umar just like, he's not stopping. Like he's not getting tired, and he's not stopping. And then you could really see it once like the rounds were ending. All of a sudden, Umar's just collapsing on the stool. And Merab is still standing up, looking, going, good.
I'm so fresh. I feel great. Hey, let's fight 12 rounds, 20 rounds. Keep it going. Like, he is just unreal. It didn't look like he was tired at all. It was unreal. Unreal.
Oh, and that's when you can weaponize your cardio, you can weaponize your endurance like that, like what Michael Bisping used to do against his opponents. It's on another level, because the pace he started to put on, you could tell he started to increase the pace after the 3rd, 4th, and 5th rounds. He started to amp it up. And I'm sure Umar was just like, this is not natural. How is he actually increasing the
Yeah.
pace now?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
it's such a weapon, and it's so impressive. And it made me think back to a few instances over the years, and one of them is that Aljamain Sterling was, ripping through this division and was, incredibly skilled, and ended up getting the belt, holding the belt, defending it, and saying that, hey, I'm not even the best guy in my gym.
Yeah.
This is the guy, and I'm gonna have to change weight classes because I want my guy to hold the belt to show the world how great he is. And I saw that with Khabib saying that about Islam,
Yeah.
saying, okay, I'm great, I'm phenomenal, I'm one of the best of all time, but just wait until this guy comes along. You're gonna be blown away. And it's hard for us to really take it seriously because we're not there rolling with them in the gym. We're
Yep.
not there training. We're not there seeing what they see on a daily basis. But it's kind of like mind blowing when you hear the guy say that. I remember when Cain Velasquez was the heavyweight champion of the world, and he
Yeah.
was saying Daniel Cormier is the best guy in my gym. He
Yeah.
is by far and away better than I am. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And at the time, Cormier was a light heavyweight, and he was
Yep.
fighting in other leagues. And I was like, really? Are you kidding me? Come on. And then Cormier proved it. He
Yeah.
became that Hall of Famer, was able to hold the light heavyweight belt, the heavyweight belt, and fight some of the greatest fights of all time and become a Hall of Famer. And it's wild to hear from guys that are the champion right now talking about another guy that's coming up behind them that they think's better than them. It's pretty cool.
It's cool, and it's also prophetic because they're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the same thing when we first heard of John Jones, where it's like, oh, you should get a load of this guy when he actually starts fighting and stuff. And then you're just like, oh, what, the guy that never lost? Like,
Yeah.
literally? But
Yeah.
that guy? Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty
You
good.
mentioned Jones, and it just immediately brings to mind when Joe Rogan started talking about John Jones. And
Yeah.
and Joe Rogan is so phenomenal at being able to spot talent and being able to tell you why this person is so phenomenal. And John Jones has his first fight in the UFC, and I couldn't believe how much Joe Rogan is talking him up. And I'm like, why is he saying he's the greatest athlete to actually ever enter the octagon? And I'm like, what the hell? And then you look into his background, and two of his brothers are in the NFL, and
Oh, yeah.
and then you're like, oh, okay,
No.
wow, okay. Now I'm seeing what Joe's seeing. And Joe had done massive amount of research on the guy before he even entered into our knowledge, into that he was even going to be in the UFC. So that's a cool thing about when these guys have that insider information, have that ability to be in the gyms with the guys and be able to research a guy before he even steps foot into the octagon for the first time in the UFC. And we better listen a lot more when more of these guys keep talking and saying who's coming next.
Like, especially when they're the upper echelon guys in the top five in their weight division or whatever. And if they're saying something, they're saying it for a reason. So
Yeah,
pay attention.
yeah. Who's Marab gonna fight next?
Oh man. Uh I don't know. I don't know because like I'm thinking to myself, first off, who can put up with that pace?
Yeah,
Like literally, like who in that weight division right now? Because Umar actually did a magnificent job dealing
phenomenal,
with it.
phenomenal. Yeah, awesome performance. Yeah,
It's an awesome performance.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, he still couldn't match it.
right.
So if he can't match it, who else is going to do it?
I think they're going to give Sean O'Malley another chance.
Yep.
I saw O'Malley cage side, and he actually he was dressed in a super flamboyant pink outfit, but um,
But
I've heard that he has changed from just being like a social media darling to training every single friggin' day, hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours to get much better ground game, takedown defense, all that kind of thing. And I think the UFC gives him the next shot.
okay, I
I,
think,
I don't say he can do it. I don't say that
yeah,
he's
yeah,
able to get the win, but I
yeah.
just think that that's who's next. I just think that that's where the UFC will go. Give him another shot.
I think that's the only thing that makes sense right now. And also, too, I find that awesome to hear that he knows exactly where he failed and he's trying to get better at that because
Yeah.
that's what champions should do. You should try to to realize where your weakness is and try to make that better. But at the same time, I don't know if there's anything you can do to like make that to try to defeat what Marab does at his best
Yeah.
because he's the best in the world at it. Like I don't know what you can do to try to take that advantage away from him. I
Yeah.
really don't.
When I saw Marab fight Peter Yan and make 49 takedown attempts, secured 22 of them, I immediately was like, this is a guy in a different stratosphere than 99.9% of the fighters on the planet. He had the same outcome as he had against Umar, where he actually got better later, seemed to increase the intensity and dog on a bone, wouldn't give up. No matter how many times he got stuffed, he just kept going and going and going and going and going and going and going. And that to me is a recipe for very long success. And it's going to be hard for anybody to ever surpass that, to ever be better than that. I think they can just only hope that he gets caught by someone with a flying knee.
Yep.
He gets caught
Yep.
with an uppercut. He gets stunned and loses, or somebody that's not even in our radar yet comes into the UFC in the next coming years, and Merab gets a little long in the tooth and can't beat the guy. So yeah,
Yep.
I think this could be a long run, and I hope he's active. I hope he fights a lot and just keeps knocking him down over and over and over and over because it's fun to watch.
No, it's fun to watch and just it's just impressive to watch too
Yeah.
because once he decides to turn up the pace for those championship rounds, going on from round 3, 4, and 5, then you're just like, and then when you're that guy, the opponent, you're just like, he's getting faster. This is like getting worse. Like it shouldn't get worse at that
Yeah.
point in time. It should be kind of even, maybe even slowing down a tad. But if he's actually ramping it up on you, now you're like, oh, Jesus, what am I gonna do here,
Yeah.
right? I agree with you that Sean O'Malley should probably get the next shot because I think he has the power to hurt Marab
Yeah.
and also to shake him up. But I think the one thing that Sean O'Malley needs to adjust in his game plan, if it does happen, if he does fight him again, stop headhunting and go to his body.
Yeah.
Stop headhunting and go. Like I think he needs to make a concerted effort to punch Marab's body to possibly slow him down.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if Sean O'Malley's body type really lends to beating Marab. I think somebody's
Yeah,
got to be shorter, stockier.
stockier.
I think that that's the way. And we saw Umar's body style. I think O'Malley, has advantages over certain fighters with his
Yeah.
length and his, frame. But I just think, a guy like Marab, you need to be shorter, stockier to be able to withstand those, takedown attempts and grappling exchanges that you're going to have to endure.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Because at the same time, too, you need to have the strength and the power to get up from out from underneath them. Because
Yeah,
once he gets you down, you're going to be down there for a while.
for a while, exactly. Yeah. Okay, we've taken way too much time, but let's break down this fight between the two title contenders. This was kind of the title eliminator fight in the light heavyweight division between Yuri Prochazka and Jamal Hill, two former champions, two of the toughest guys on the planet, number 2 against number 3, and it was an awesome war. Yuri Prochazka, I would hate to fight this guy because he's so unorthodox. He has his hands down and he just hits like a friggin' brick wall. And when he nails you, eventually, if he catches you right, you're going down. That's what happened to Jamal Hill eventually. Hill had him in trouble at times, had landed some really big shots, but crazy third round. Prochazka ends up finally landing the shot that ended up turning the lights out, I guess. Early stoppage for me, but Prohachka gets the win. Kind of probably next up against the winner between Mikhail Pereira coming up in March.
Yeah, yeah, I'd have to say so because this was an excellent fight. This was an excellent fight. Like what Hill had to try to navigate is I don't think you can navigate that because the way that Prohachka fights is it's just weird. It's
Yeah,
odd. It doesn't
tough,
really
odd.
a lot of it doesn't make any sense. To Prohachka's credit, a lot more head movement. He was a
Yeah,
lot more defensively responsible than we've ever seen him. So
yeah,
he was really good at that. But it's just that the way that he fights is it's almost like he's off rhythm. It's off beat.
yeah,
And like when he strikes, you don't expect him to strike right then because like guys usually like to fight at a certain rhythm,
yeah,
right? And the way that he fights is just completely that's not on rhythm at all. It
yeah.
just isn't. And
I don't know how you
like you
train.
said,
I don't know how you train for him. Where you get training partners that are going to emulate him? How are you going to
no,
get that?
you can't find that. You
Yeah,
can't find that. And then also too, you're never gonna find somebody that can hit like him either.
yeah,
Because once he hits you, and there was more than a couple times that obviously when Hill got hit, I think that he got dropped twice by strikes before he got dropped the final time. But like you could tell within his facial expressions is like, oh man, this guy hits like a brick. Like,
yeah.
like it's yeah.
So the Pereira fight with Makayev, no, sorry,
Ankalaev.
Magomed Ankalaev will be on March the 8th in Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena. Okay. Whoever emerges from that is probably next for Yuri, but he's already fought Pereira twice. He's lost to him both by TKO. UFC 295 and UFC 303. Is there an appetite for a third when a guy's already beat a guy twice? Is there an appetite out there? Is there an ability to sell a bunch of pay-per-views? Will people want to watch a guy fight a guy for a third time when he's already lost to him twice?
I'm gonna be honest, no. But what are you gonna do?
What are you
Like
gonna
he's
do?
earned like he's earned his spot. He's earned the right to get beat up for a third time.
Right.
That's what he's earned.
Does the UFC, if Jones and Aspinall fight each other and the winner happens, if Jones wins, they decide to put Pereira against Jones. Does the UFC turn and say, let's get an interim belt in the light heavyweight division, and so then Pereira will fight someone for the light heavyweight interim belt?
Ah, ah, I don't know. Like why? Like I guess I get
They've
like
done it many
they
times.
usually do that anyways, and I've always thought it was really stupid.
Yeah.
Like okay, first off, Dana White's already said it. If Jones wins, he gets his fight with Pereira. If that's what he wants, right?
Yeah.
And so I think if Jones does win, he will fight Pereira, and that will be his last fight. Either way, I believe this is Jones' last year of fighting. Period. I don't think he's not fighting after this year. He's going to be done. So, but so if Pereira takes that fight, it almost feels like he's being like they're disrespecting him in a certain sort of way by saying, if you're going to take this fight, then we're going to have an interim belt, right? Because you're going to take that fight. It's like, no, actually, he challenged me,
Yeah.
and I'm honoring it because he's the GOAT. That's the guy.
Yeah.
I should fight him, and I will fight him, right? And so, yeah, there's a couple of things when it comes to that interim belt stuff that the UFC does I don't really like, and I don't think they should be doing that to him. And especially because Pereira had saved their ass more than a couple times
Many
already,
times. Yeah. Many times.
many times.
Yeah.
So they shouldn't do that to him.
No, I hate that. I don't like
I hate
interim belts. I don't think we should ever see them. And, it doesn't seem right to the guy that is yeah, he's been a very loyal guy. He's
Yeah,
been able to be on some of the biggest cards UFC has ever had,
yeah,
and been at their disposal to use when they've needed him.
yeah.
And
When they were desperate.
yeah, when they're desperate, and he's saved UFC 300. He's been on many, 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 many cards since he's been in the UFC, and been, to me, the GOAT in that period of time. So yeah, I hope they don't do him dirty, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's unfortunate that Yuri's lost to him twice already. I kind of don't want to see a third fight
Yeah.
between them. I would like to see Yuri against somebody else, I think. So
Yeah.
the other 50K bonus went to Jalton Almeida, as I mentioned earlier. Heavyweight battle between him and Sergey the Polar Bear Spivak. Almeida ended up getting a late knockout, was able to land some really big bombs. Spivak got in tons of trouble and just could not withstand it. Jason Herzog came in and stopped it. Almeida's now 8-1 in the UFC. His only loss to Curtis Blades, and he's been pretty impressive. He called out Cyril Gahn for his next opponent. Should be pretty incredible to watch. And he obviously would love to avenge that loss to Blades. But great performance. And yeah, I think some really fun fights to make for Jalton Almeida next.
Yeah, really fun fights going forward for Almeida for sure. I did want to mention that I think this is the best that we've seen Spivak look, though.
Yeah.
He looked absolutely amazing. Like, he looked trim, in shape, and he was by far and away ready for this fight.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, in the heavyweight division, you get caught, man. And he got caught, and he could not recover, and it was over at the end of the round one. So, who do you think he should fight next, Almeida? Obviously, somebody in the top 5 in the heavyweight division, but who should that be?
Well, as I said, he called out Cyril Gahn.
Yeah.
He said, "Stop running." I didn't know there was any kind of history between them. He said, if it happens in France, Brazil, wherever the hell you want it, that's where we should be going. I guess we'll see if they put that together. As I said, his only loss against Blades. So,
Yeah. I
might be
thought it was
great.
going to be
Might
Blades.
great to put that together. Might be
Yeah.
phenomenal. He called out Aspinall too, but I think
Yeah, that's not
Aspinall
happening.
obviously is not there quite yet. But Almeida looked phenomenal. Beat a very, very tough Sergey Spivak, and yeah, should have a definite top 2 or 3 guy coming up for his next fight.
Yeah, because I would say, like, I thought Blades right away for Almeida.
Yeah.
But if not that, like, is Gahn number 3 then in the
No,
division?
Gahn's number 2. Blades is 5.
Blades is 5.
Pavlovich
Yeah.
is 4. Alexander Volkov is 3. Gahn
3.
is 2, and then Aspinall 1 and Jones champ. So
Okay.
yeah, so just ahead of him is Blades. Then he could fight one of the Russians, Pavlovich or Volkov, or Cyril Gahn, who he called up.
No, well, either one of those, all of those sound really good for
Yeah.
Almeida at this point in time. Like, any one of those fights.
True. Yeah. Okay, I was kind of surprised at how quickly René de Ridder was able to dispatch Kevin Holland and get the tap. He, yeah, really overmatched Holland. Unfortunately, was able to go for many submissions and took us back, sunk in the rear naked choke, and forced the tap very quickly. And Holland is on a little bit of a bad stretch, but I didn't see him tapping so quickly.
I was super disappointed. I envisioned this fight going a lot different because I love Holland. I love watching him fight.
Yeah.
But I think maybe he possibly underestimated de Ridder a little bit.
Yeah.
Because once de Ridder got him on the ground and quickly transitioned over to his back,
Yeah.
and then once he sunk in the rear naked choke, it was almost immediate. Like, it's like, oh, I think he was crushing his neck. So I think he has quite the squeeze on him. It's unfortunate, but yeah, all credit to de Ridder. I never would have thought, though, that fight was going to end in the first round the way it did.
No,
Not that
me neither.
anyway.
I was quite surprised.
He's
He's now asking for a top 5 guy coming out of
happen.
the Killcliff Henry Hooft gym. That was so easy for him. I think they will definitely give him a ranked fighter next, somebody that's quite high up there, and see what he's got to bring. One thing I wanted to make mention of this fight was Frank Trigg was the referee in this one. He also is a referee in another one I want to mention a little later. I love seeing a former fighter, a guy that was in there. He fought 8 times in the UFC. He fought twice for the UFC belt. And it's great to see a referee that had that much UFC fighting experience and MMA experience on a whole. They also had Chris Lieben as one of the judges as
Yeah,
well on this card, and it's great that LA was smart enough to have two guys in place that were former longtime UFC guys.
absolutely. Like, and I think we need to see more of that.
Yeah,
And I hope that some of the guys that have come before get more interested in the sport and helping out the sport in this way,
yeah,
because they know exactly how it feels to get screwed over by the ref.
yeah,
So if you got a former fighter that's in there, it's like, don't worry, I'm not going to stop it early.
yeah, exactly.
You're
Yeah,
going to have every opportunity to try to come back, right?
yeah,
Because they know exactly how that is and how that plays out. And then with Lieben being like a judge, it's just like, he could probably even look at the other judge and be like, what are you doing? You can't score it like that.
yeah,
Moron. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Good.
hope that's a big trend that we're seeing. I hope we see many, many, many more guys that were longtime UFC veterans that be refs and be judges. I hope it's a big trend. And also the ranking system needs revamping. Somebody asked in the post-fight press conference to Dana what moves have been made, and he said he's about to make an announcement at the changing that they're doing to the UFC ranking system. So can't wait. If I hear, I'll post it on our website and let you guys know. But I'm glad that something is imminent and changing that. Many things in the UFC need to change, and those three elements, really are crucial, I think, for long-term growth and being able to make the sport super great.
Yeah, absolutely. For advancing the sport to
Yeah.
where we all want to see it to go to, where we want to see it to grow to.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. These things have to happen.
I feel bad for Beneil Dariush getting eliminated from his fight. Somebody calls him out. I think I have it written down here, but I feel bad for him. Losing the fight on the eve of the fight. Hope they make it right for him, and we get to see him very, very soon. The feature fight in the prelim ended up becoming Raoni Barcelos against Peyton Talbot after fights got elevated and changed, and it ended up being pretty damn good because this was a veteran facing a prospect who was super highly touted, undefeated, a 37-year-old guy that's been around for a really long time. And the odds makers really threw,
Screwed it up.
absolutely no credit towards Barcelos, thinking
Yep.
that he could win this fight. He fought an incredibly great fight, very determined, and got the victory. Whoever put some money on him on Saturday night must have been very, very happy because this was a massive upset odds wise. But I thought it was really good matchmaking to have Peyton prove himself and Barcelos to be able to say, hey, there's levels to this game. There's something that can be said about experience, and he really showed it.
Oh yeah, he absolutely showed it. Like he came in with a game plan, which was I'm just gonna grapple and I'm gonna wrestle you. I'm
Yeah,
going to out wrestle you,
yeah,
which is exactly what he did. Even in the later rounds when he was getting tired, he was still savvy enough to catch him with coming in and put his back on the mat.
yeah,
So Barcelos had a great game plan. Talbot was game though. He
yeah.
never gave up on himself. There was a couple shots he landed in the striking, and if it were to stay stand up, I'm thinking Talbot had a real shot at beating Barcelos.
Yeah.
But Barcelos was smart enough to
Very
know
smart.
exactly where he wanted the fight to be to give himself the best chance of winning, which was on the mat and grappling, which is what he did.
Yeah. And he got a unanimous 30-27 win. And yeah, really proved himself. And yeah, I was happy with the matchmakers, and I was happy how this kind of played out because sometimes it's really nice to see these veterans finally just saying to these prospects, hey, 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 wait a second here. You're starting to shoot for the moon a little bit soon. It's not
Yeah.
quite time. I don't think, what kind of levels there are to us kind of veterans that have been around for this long, and it was nice to see.
No, it was good to see. Definitely good to see.
Okay. We got to fly through the rest of this. Do you want to make mention of Azamat Beckoff's
Well,
KO of Zachary Reese. Very dramatic, really, really impressive knockout of Zachary Reese.
yes, Bokov,
Beckoff, I think.
Beckoff.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Anyways, with that guy, great win.
UFC
Vicious,
debut. UFC
vicious.
debut against a tough
Yep,
guy. Yeah.
tough guy, but vicious ground and pound. It was so vicious that when the ref slid in to stop the fight, he got him one more
One
time,
last time in KO.
and that's what knocked him out. He
Yeah.
literally slid in time to grab his head before it bounced off the mat, and he was like, "Oh, he's out."
Yeah.
But I got you.
The timing was
The timing was
incredible. Like, incredible timing
impeccable.
for the ref to come in there. Yeah. Just perfect. Like that wasn't an early stoppage. It wasn't too late, too early. It was just perfect stop.
Perfect time.
Yeah.
Now, if only every ref could learn from that ref and go,
Yeah.
want me to show you how to do the perfect stoppage? You slide in right as he's about to deliver that final blow. And you know it's the final blow. Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Blake, the ref's name is Blake Grice. We see him once in a while. It was great that he was able to have such a very, very perfect slide in and just caught it right as he got knocked out. And really nice UFC debut from Beckoff. He's from American Top Team, one of these guys that's been sort of knocking on the door for quite a while, from my understand. I heard King Mo talk about him, say he's one of our top guys out of our camp, and we've really wanted him to get this UFC opportunity. Finally did, and a really nice way to get your UFC debut done and get a big win. Bogdan Guskov ended up having a change of opponent. Johnny Walker was supposed to fight there. That was another fight that I was really looking forward to. And Billy Elencano stepped in. This was an overmatch as well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, good on Billy to get his chance, but Bogdan was a beast and got the really big victory in this one. Not surprising though.
Not surprising, because the other guy didn't actually even have a fight camp, I believe.
No.
Like, no fight camp. So he went in there just to show what he got. And he was incredibly tough. But in that round two, when Guskov was basically had him up against the fence, it was just beating him up. And like, it was just like, it was pretty obvious. It's like, the guy's tough, but when you don't have a fight camp and you're fighting somebody that's in the top 15, yeah, that's not going to end well for you. It just isn't. So
there was he was in a rear naked choke at the end of the first round, and the bell rang just as he started to tap, and he kind of didn't actually physically touch anything with his hand, but it started to tap because he was going out. And they showed the replay on the big screen in between the first and the second round, just as they were about to start the second round. And immediately everyone booed in there because there was no context to it. You couldn't hear the bell ring. You couldn't see that it was after
the bell.
Yeah, and so immediately I heard either Cormier or John Anik say, no, I think it was either Rogan or Anik say, we apologize. We shouldn't have shown that then without the sound. So
without the context.
Out of context. And there was something discussed, I think it was around that time, that unfortunately the commentary isn't
never
by the
heard
people
when you're
in the arena.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's always something that has bothered me about live sports, has that I'm home and I can hear the commentary on any sporting event that I'm watching, and it adds so much to it. When I'm in the arena, I wish that I could hear it. I wish that Intuit Dome had a plug-in on my armrest, and I could just plug in my earbuds to it and hear the commentary, and they could do ads during the breaks and the action. They could have the PA system enter into it when they needed it in between action. But it sucks that we can't hear the commentary when we're live. I think that's something that eventually sports are going to be able to do and want to do, because people will want to go live
because they have that as well. Yeah. I think it's only a matter of time till they figure that out. Yeah. It's just a technical aspect. And I think we have people that are smart enough now to figure out exactly how to make that happen. Yeah. We just haven't got to that point yet, but I think that's the next evolution. That's the thing that's right around the corner. That's coming up next.
I used to bring a small little, I guess you call it a transistor radio. I used to bring a small little thing, and I had these corded earbuds, and I would listen to Jim Robson. I would listen to Jim Hewson, back in the day when I'd go to Canuck games. And sometimes I'd just put one in, sometimes I'd put both in while I'm watching the action. And it was great. It was phenomenal. And I've always thought it was weird that didn't happen much sooner. And I also just feel like, it could be easily done. I tried to do it in Rogers Arena early on when it first opened, and the reception was really bad. I couldn't barely hear it. It was so fuzzy and stuff. So I don't know if the tin roof does something to it, but they're broadcasting from the arena in there. They got the radio guys inside the arena, and then they're shooting it out to all of the province to hear it on the radio stations. I don't know why it can't be in-house too.
Yeah, exactly. Like there should be a way, or strategically placed, like, speaker system or whatever. Like, because they do it for concerts. Right. So, like, they should be able to figure it out for like a sporting event.
Yeah, I don't think it should be like broadcast on the speakers inside the arena, because then the athletes are hearing what the guys are saying about them.
That would kind of throw them off. That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Okay,
I do want to mention this Grant Dawson Diego Ferreira fight, because this is the other fight that Frank Trigg was part of, and for some reason Trigg got into standing them up when Dawson had him down onto the canvas and was beating on him, and really was pretty active, and Trigg came in and stood him up. And I love that. It's great. We want to see toe-to-toe action, but this is mixed martial arts. He had taken him down. He was controlling him. There was action going on. I think it was wrong. That's the only bad thing I could say about what Trigg did that night. But I hope that he learns from that. People tell him, hey, you gotta let that keep progressing if it's action is happening on the ground.
Yeah, exactly. I think some of the senior refs probably would have taken him aside and like good art or whatever, and just said, you know what? No, he was active.
Yeah.
He had his control. Like, you're actually disadvantaging him because like he was doing everything that he should have been doing.
Yeah.
So you can't just take that away from him. Like that's not fair, and that's not right. No. Like when I saw it happen, and everybody, like I believe Rogan and Cormier started laughing. It's like, I guess he wasn't doing enough. It's like, no, actually, I think he was doing enough. So hopefully he learns from that and doesn't do that again. But that was a pretty dominant win by Dawson. Maybe. He literally did whatever he wanted to do. He grappled him, and Ferreira was he was at his wit's ends with Dawson. Didn't know what to do there.
I was blown away how impressive Dawson was. He was definitely the better fighter, dominated, got a unanimous 30-27 win, won all rounds. Definitely, it was really good. And he's the guy that called out Beneil Dariush, and he said I feel a bit sad for him not getting that chance. I want to fight really soon. I'll be your man, Dariush. You can get back into the cage quickly. I didn't take any damage, he said. I'm ready to go. Let's do it. So that was a cool call. Awesome. And that'd be great to see. That'd be a phenomenal fight to watch.
No, definitely. I'd love to see that fight.
Okay. Early prelims. Aylin Perez got to twerk on Carol Rosa's body after the decision win. Good on her. I'm not a fan of that, but good on her. What else do you want to mention about the early prelims? I do want to mention the Ulanbekov first fight of the night. I was surprised that was the first fight of the night. Like I said, he got paid $72K, way more than most fighters did, and he was part of that Eagles team. Maybe they wanted to get the Eagles guy done early so that they could be ready for the co-main and main.
Yeah.
But wow, does he ever look good? And look out division, look out UFC. This is another phenomenal fighter from the Dagestan and that Eagles fight team. And yeah, he's fighting out of AKA in California. But yeah, wow. To start the fight of the night, get the co-main and the main, pretty unbelievable for this fight team.
Yeah, very unbelievable. And they almost had the sweep, almost, but
Yeah.
fortunately they ran into that Georgian in Dabishvili.
Another veteran against a prospect in that one, and that was great. Cool to see Khabib in these corners. Cool to see Javier Mendez still there. Remember him with DC and many of the fighters, Velasquez and guys that came out of that gym. Cool to see that they're still there and they're giving back and bringing on that next wave of talent.
Yeah, I know. It's good to see them pay it forward and to see them still involved in the sport.
Yeah. Okay, that's it for me from the UFC. And the NBA had a nice schedule today, as I mentioned. Kicked off 9 a.m. with a battle between the Mavericks and the Hornets. The Hornets got a big win over the Mavs today. Mavs are really banged up. I watched the game between the Grizzlies and the T-Wolves. Grizzlies ended up pulling out a 108-106 win when Anthony Edwards tried for a three-pointer as at the buzzer, and it was unsuccessful. It's bizarre how much Edwards has changed his game to be way more of a three-point threat than driving the paint. He's shooting more than three more three-pointers per game. His averages, his percentage is up by 7%. He's shooting 43% from three. But he's shooting three less. He's getting three less points in the paint. He's getting three less free throw attempts per game, and he's just not driving the ball. Where that I think is such an amazing part of his game. It's weird to watch him transition and change to the style that he's playing now.
Yeah, but like the fact though, his 3-point percentage is up.
Yeah.
So like, and that's it. I to a certain extent I understand it, but also too, he can't he shouldn't disregard what makes him awesome, which is him driving to the hoop. And I think sometimes that's where analytics gets involved and starts to mess up a player.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think that's the one thing Anthony Edwards needs to find, that balance between the two. I think right now he's shooting a lot. I think eventually he'll find that balance. He'll find exactly where he needs to be. But right now, I think he's still in that experimental phase of trying to figure it out.
I think we're on a collision course for the Cavs and OKC in the final.
Yep.
I think so many people were like, "Oh, the Celtics got this," but the Celtics are 8-8 in their past 16 games. They seem to be in a funk, and Cleveland and OKC are both just absolutely phenomenal. OKC ended up getting the win yesterday, even though they were missing Frankenstein, Jalen Wells, and Chet Holmgren. And yeah, they look like an incredible juggernaut. It's yeah, to me, play some money on both those teams meeting in the final. Come April, May, I guess it's May, late May, when we're gonna see the final.
They by far and away are the two best teams in NBA. I think that's without a shadow of a doubt. They dominate. They're super impressive. I think they're both teams are in the top 10 in the defense and offensive ratings. Yeah, man, yeah. I put money on them those two being in the finals for sure.
Have you heard anything about the Jimmy Butler trade?
I haven't heard anything.
Okay.
What I've heard is that nothing is happening.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the case so far.
Yeah.
Players of the week, Eastern Conference Player of the Week was Giannis, 32 points, 12.5 rebounds, and 6.5 assists, and leading the Bucks to a 4-0 record this past week. He also won Player of the Week in week 5, so second of the year. Western Conference Player of the Week was the Houston Rockets' Jalen Green, also 32.5 points per game, 3.5 assists, and shooting 63% from three. He led Houston to a 3-1 record. The Rockets ended up losing today to the Pistons. The game I'm excited to watch, and I will after this, is the Warriors Celtics game, but I just saw the score and it's not pretty, so I'll have to
Maybe
fly
not.
through it. And yeah, that's gonna be it. But we've come to the end. This was a long one. I hope thanks for sticking in, everyone. Thanks for sticking in, Jason. Glad we did it early. And now we're off to the national championship game. Let's just fingers crossed, hope that it's a really tight, epic game that we can talk about for years to come. I hope it's a yeah, triple, quadruple overtime game. And yeah, it's a really, really good battle between the two top teams.
Yeah, I hope it's a great battle between the two top teams. I can't wait to see it. So you enjoy your evening. I know I'm about to enjoy mine,
Thanks,
and
buddy.
we will catch you later, man.
Okay, thanks, buddy. All the best. Talk
All
soon.
right. Bye.
Okay, cheers. Bye for now. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna say goodbye to all of you. Thank you so much for being there, sticking in. Appreciate your time and attention as always. I want to thank our partners and sponsors as always. Anchor.fm, easiest place to make a podcast. Go there and make a podcast. You'll love it. It's super fun. Verbero, the hockey equipment and apparel company, industry leader in technology, performance, and value. V350 stick is a must-have. Pampas and Possibilities, get them to come in and design some beautiful West Coast vibes for your home, spruce it up and make it look awesome. And last but not least, Forever Living, the aloe vera company for health and beauty products. Go to our website and you can buy some at discounted rates. We love you. Always did, always will. We appreciate you and we'll talk soon. Have a great week. Enjoy the game. We will see you next week.